All right, welcome everybody to our April, what's the date today? April 11th, 2023 Village Board meeting. We have a lot of stuff on the agenda, so let's get started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Trustee Bertozzi will be here soon, tied up in traffic and on her way. But we'll get started with the public hearing for the budget. I'd like to make a motion to open up the public hearing for the 2023-24 budget.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I always like to lead that off with public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that has a comment? If not, I'm going to lead into just the overview that we sent out. Eleanor, please come up. Introduce yourself. You have 3 minutes.
Eleanor Pupko, Village Green. The oft-repeated mantra of the comp plan has been that nothing be discussed or even agreed to that was even discussed or agreed to in the subcommittee can be considered a recommendation unless and until it's approved by the main committee, and that we should not be representing these talking points as more than that. Therefore, it concerns me to see the village board repeatedly cherry-picking ideas that they like and have been voiced at subcommittee meetings and implementing them without further reflection or investigation. One of these is the money being spent on reducing the village speed limit. When I moved here over 20 years ago, a resident proudly told me they were instrumental in getting stop signs erected at various corners. We have a street that not only has stop signs all along the way, but also a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. Is there any indication that this street is safer than any others? To tell the truth, at night I frequently walk in the street because I feel much safer there than on the sidewalk where I once fell and chipped a tooth. I've already shared evidence that the speed limit is never enforced in village streets, so it seems there's a better place to start. A bigger priority might be to use this money for sidewalks and bike lanes to get students to school safely. Another issue is who can be against composting. I mean, that seems like a no-brainer. But is this the most effective way to impact the environment? How many cars will be driving to drop-off sites? Is it a sensible investment for a village of our size? Is a climate-smart award worth the money and energy and so on that will go into building our own site? Right now, money is pouring in as assessed values skyrocket, but can we depend on this inflation forever? It's time we stop and take a closer look at what residents really want, such as sidewalk building and repairs. There's other inexpensive things that we could do to make people happy, such as improve communications and user-friendly, informative website. These are some issues that were frequently expressed in the kitchen table conversations, but they weren't necessarily included in the survey. Thank you.
Thank you, Eleanor. Roger, come on up.
Roger Kwan, 15 Rockefeller Lane in the village of Rhinebeck. I made an observation in your village budget that salaries will be increasing again for the trustees. I think that's an automatic trigger that you voted on for yourselves last year. I also note that the village justice salary has not changed again at all. It hasn't changed since you were elected, Gary. So I was wondering if that's an oversight and if that's going to be remedied.
Thank you, Roger.
Thank you.
Any other comments on the 2023-24 budget? Patty, let's see, you raised your hand?
Yeah.
No.
This way. Sorry.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. All right, so let me review where we the notice that we sent out about the budget for the Village of Rhinebeck and the tentative budget for 2023-24. The proposed property tax rate falls from $3.10 to $2.70 per thousand assessed value. In addition to conservative budgeting, assessed value for the village has increased by 84 point, the assessed value for the village increased by 84.5 million. In the general fund, we've calculated our salary increases for the union contract with UPSEU at 2%, and the union contract is up for renewal this year. Non-union employees will be under the direction of the mayor and the board of trustees. Overtime for the village department was also evaluated. There were some major increases to the budget this year. Again, general liability, insurance, and utilities were all addressed as we went through the budget. We also added many projects to the budget. Some were mentioned here this evening. The 25-mile-per-hour speed limit throughout the village for $15,500 allocated in the budget. A public use of a porta potty, $6,000 allocated in the budget. An update to the 1993 comprehensive plan with $60,000 added in. Asher Dam inspection and repair, $67,000. Added lease and purchase for police and highway trucks, $30,500. Added lease and purchase for a wheel loader, $17,559. And compost facility supplies and mostly capital, $3,600. And we've also been having ongoing discussions about the flex tech and adding HVAC to the village hall in that study for $21,700. Revenues from interest has been also increased due to the increase in the interest rate forecasted. Our interest and earnings, $25,000. New York class, as a lead participant, our treasurer, Karen McLaughlin, is a lead participant in that, and with that, a stipend comes of $9,000. And a New York sales tax increase of $37,197. Our water fund, the balance of $1,044,497,000 is up 1% since last year. There will be no rate increase to our water fund. The salaries for those employees have all been calculated with the 2% increase. The union contract is, as I mentioned, part of that up for renewal this year. The budget includes increases to utilities, insurance, a new vehicle, and turbidity meters. A water plant upgrade is underway, funded by a grant from New York State EFC and low interest bonds. For our sewer fund, the sewer fund balance is $765,150, which is down $52,895. No rate increase is indicated. Salaries have been calculated with 2% increase. Again, the union contract that they are part of, and the budget removes an anticipated additional employee and increased utilities to insurance and a new influent pump and equipment. All these fund balance and their budgets have been accomplished without allocating additional fund balance to the budget. I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2023-24 budget.
Do you want to come out of the public hearing first?
Oh,
Yeah.
pardon, I'm sorry.
Do you want to close the public hearing?
Yeah. Having no other public comment, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the 2023-2024 budget as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
I'll vote for the budget, but there's a couple items I don't care for, like the 25-mile-per-hour speed limit. I mean, given the cost of the signs, $15,500, when we're levying, well, not levying, but we have tickets that are basically on the arterials and almost never on the side streets. And the flex tech thing, I've said that a lot, that I really don't want to completely retrofit the building. I think that the vendors would know a lot about doing, a heat pump zone in the meeting room, and replacing the boiler would be quite an efficiency change, but I don't want to do a full-blown, what this will lead to is a full-blown retrofit of the building, but I voted against that already, so I don't need to flog that again twice, so I will vote for the budget.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I think just to respond to Roger's comment, that it's important to note that we fully funded the court budget as requested.
I don't get you called me out, so I was wondering if there's a response.
You made a public comment, so I'm answering your public comment. The court budget, the courts request their budget, and we fully funded it.
So the justice should request his own salary increase?
If he wants it.
Okay.
Typically the way it works.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.
Thank you. It's interesting. I think the 25 mile per hour speed limit thing is something that we're going to have to examine, and this is really just a placeholder.
Which is what we said when we went through the budget.
Yeah.
The state hasn't quantified the rules and regulations for how to even approach that yet for an
Yeah.
area.
Right,
Yeah.
there's a lot to be.
Well, I don't know.
If we can do a blanket speed limit,
Right? Wouldn't that be great?
don't they do that kind of thing?
Well, if we can do it on
They do it in New
9
Hampshire.
The
50 miles an hour, that's otherwise.
the situation is that the state changed the law such that we can create an area speed limit. The problem is that is adjudicated by the Department of Transportation. And the Department of Transportation has not yet determined by what criteria an area will be eligible for a speed limit. Because right now, the only criteria they have are for linear stretches of roads. So what's up in the air right now is what does the state Department of Transportation want to see from us in order to justify an area speed limit that would go in? So until that gets worked out, until it's clarified, we're not going very quickly anywhere.
All right. We do have another public hearing scheduled for the village tax exemption for firefighter and EMS, which is scheduled to start at 6:30. Rather than having all of us sit here and twiddle our thumbs and play games for another 17 minutes, I'm going to go on with the agenda, if that's okay with the board.
That's great.
Move right along.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
And then it's probably at 6:30, we will move forward with that public hearing. Okay, so the first thing on our agenda, as always, is the regular public comment. Is there anybody here for regular public comment on this meeting? Donna,
Hi.
hi, come on up.
I just have a question.
No, come on up, you gotta, come on up. Who, what, where, when, and how, you got 3 minutes.
Donna Warner, village resident. On a cut-through street, by the way, 25, 30 miles, it's not gonna matter. People do what they do. I'm not in favor of the signs. No, I actually wanted a clarification on your agenda. It says current projects, updates if applicable. Will you be doing an update on any or all of these items?
So,
I'm particularly, it was here interested in Locust Hill.
right, so typically the way, if there's an update on those items, we list it in the agenda. This was set in place when we did it to say, here's the projects we have on our scope of work, but if there's an update, it's up to the board or whoever's responsible, bring the update forward, we'll list it and say an update's available. But typically, if there's nothing listed, unless somebody has a last minute thing, there will not be any discussion on those.
Okay, oh, there won't be, okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
Right. We're trying to keep the public informed of what we have on our plates,
Yeah.
but we're also trying to keep the public informed if there's an update that would address one of those items.
So I looked at the folder and there really was no additional information correct? That's all, I just.
Yep.
So-
No, I'm glad you asked, because, good question.
Donna, in this case, the news is that there's no news.
Okay, then I can go home. Thank you.
Oh, you don't want to stay and watch the rest?
Sure, we'll stay a while. Since we're here. I would add one more comment.
Well, the clock doesn't start over, Donna.
Frankly, I totally support the tax exemption for firefighters and EMTs.
Thank you.
You can stay for the public hearing and say that again, if you would like.
Once is enough.
Okay,
I'm being silly.
all right. Any other public? Elmer?
was just wondering if there's any way to clarify that on the agenda, because I know I and other people have sat here for like 2 hours only to find out there wasn't a report. Is there any way to flag? I mean, it's good to list them, not a problem, but is there any way to?
A good indicator is if there's a sub-line underneath it.
Okay.
So like, I tried to put A, B, C, D, which is pretty standard on there, but then if it has like a 1, 2, or 3 for specifically what they're gonna talk about, or if you check the cloud and there's something uploaded.
Right, but I mean, that's for somebody who comes to a million meetings, but
Or you
what
can
about
always
somebody who doesn't ever come to meetings?
You can
and
always
has-
call or email me too, I usually know.
No, I know, I'm just saying for the general public,
Maybe what we could do
we
is,
don't understand the
Maybe
code.
it should say no
Maybe
update.
we could put
No
no
update.
yeah, or maybe we could just say like bold if going to be discussed or something, or
Right.
something like
Thanks.
that. Yeah,
Well, and we
Thanks,
used to put no update,
right,
but then somebody would have a comment and make an update,
right.
right? So that violated the rule of no update.
Well, there is that. That's a
So-
good point.
If you want to be heard, please make a note that you want to be heard, and we'll make sure that you're heard. And we'll have it on the agenda, and if you have something to add to that topic, please make sure you get it into Martina before noon on Friday so that we can update the agenda.
That's why that deadline's important.
And now you're all witnessing the sausage.
Right, but I think the point is we're trying to be able to inform people about what's currently pending, and sometimes there are updates and sometimes they're not. And so the question is, how do we best say that we are engaged in a water plant upgrade, but at this time there is no additional information about it. So we're trying to, this is a work in progress, really, about how to better communicate. So that's what we're trying to do.
Roger?
Dr. Please state my name and.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm Roger Kwan, I'm Gary's neighbor. I'm neighbor of everyone. And actually I have 2 general questions. Maybe this is a urban or a village legend with respect to parking tickets. Is it true that if you get a parking ticket, there's no real enforcement mechanism for the village to follow through of people who don't pay their tickets? Like their license might be suspended or anything like that? Is anyone aware of that? That's a
I
legend. that
believe
goes-
that'll be up to the court system, Roger, to decide when a ticket, the police turn their tickets into the court adjudicates the tickets.
So, they.
We have no control over that.
So if the ticket isn't being enforced, it's because the court isn't enforcing it. Otherwise, the court would enforce it.
Does the court have the ability to suspend someone's license, for instance, if they don't pay their ticket?
That I don't know.
I don't really know
Ask the court.
the rules.
Yeah, ask the court.
Yeah.
Ask the court.
The second question is with respect to the posting of minutes. So I guess there's an open meeting law, minutes are supposed to be posted in a certain time frame. The village was a little slow last year on posting old minutes. Who's responsible for posting the minutes? What's the approval process, and who's actually responsible for posting those?
Martina, do you want to address that?
So I'm responsible for posting minutes. I generally always have the draft of minutes and then I submit it to the board for final approval before I post.
Okay, so could we state on the minutes when it was finally approved, or is it, how will we know? Who's that?
Well, the motion at the board meeting that the board approved them would state when they're finally approved for the next. So the minutes from last meeting, for example, will be approved tonight and they'll be in tonight's minutes,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
And if they're releasing ahead, they'll have a draft wet mark on them, so that they're noted as draft.
Can draft minutes be posted?
They can, absolutely.
Will they be?
Yes.
Thank you.
Then, come on up. I like your colors.
You look like Rhinebeck color.
Go Vikings.
Vikings.
Hi, Suzanne Renzi, I live in the village. Couple of questions. First of all, in the spring, I just want to make sure this is clarified for people. We don't bring the leaf truck around, right? So you can commingle leaves and sticks. Or is that not true?
Do not commingle leaves and sticks. ever.
It is.
Okay.
And we do bring the leaf truck around in the spring.
You do, okay.
Yes, and
So
the leaf
this-
truck has been out all week in
This is
fact.
something I've been mentioning to my neighbors, but I wasn't sure, so I thought I would get it clarified at the board meeting. And this kind of goes along with what you were talking about of who would give, a welcome to Rhinebeck packet or having something that the real estate agents could give. I don't know, I can't prove it, but I can just talk for my neighborhood. I don't know how many people look on the website because I do tell my neighbors, like, put your leaves and your sticks in separate piles, or your yard debris and your leaves in separate piles. So I think it's great to think that people are gonna look at the website, but I do think having something, like, I have papers from when I moved here of, for the transfer station, the leaf pickup, used to have them in the, downstairs in the lobby. They're not there now because you use the website, but I do think that it was always helpful to me to have that like schedule on my refrigerator so I knew when things were happening. I don't know what the solution is, that's your job. But I did want to bring that up, as that might be something that might still be useful for people. I could be wrong. And I, like Donna, also think it's a good idea for the tax exemption for our volunteers who put a lot of time and energy in and put their lives at risk, frankly, for nothing but, thank yous from us. So I am supportive of that, and I will not be able to stay later, so.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thanks.
So for the record, we do encourage everybody to sign up go to the village website, and you can sign up for notifications. And unfortunately, you can't pick and choose what notifications you get, but we try not to over-communicate, but we try to communicate efficiently and effectively on what's going on and the timing of what goes on. And so those emails and messages will be pushed to you if you sign up for the notifications as well. And so you'll get them in your email. I know it's not a paper to hang on your refrigerator, but you could print out that. And yes, we're trying to evolve and trying to be more communicative as possible, and also cut down expenses on mailings. So what we have done in the past is we put notifications in our water and sewer bills. We found that wasn't even effective because they threw that part away and focused on the bill. I don't know if there is a good answer. We're willing to try. We're willing to try anything and everything to be.
It just seems like the message is not
So,
necessarily getting out. I don't know, maybe other people can speak to their neighborhoods.
well, so Rick and I have been working on like a FYI document, similar to what you're talking about, and once it's complete, we'll push it out, and maybe we can get like the local newspaper to also push it out, and maybe we can come up with a way to mail it to everyone or something.
And by the way, it will be a duplicate of what's already on the website,
It's just easier.
just so you know.
But I think the point is that the village does not have a list of residents or their email addresses or anything like that. If you want to hear from us, you have to sign up for the email. We don't have the ability to reach out to people unless they request it.
We
And
can
that's really
email, we
important.
can mail everybody.
We
though.
can mail everybody, but in terms of email or timeliness, that's the only way that we can do it. You have to opt in, basically.
I saw a hand over, Linda was up first on it.
Well, we're gonna get to the public hearing.
Take everything. Linda Christensen, 37 South Street. I just wanted, since the topic came up, and it happens to be something I am a vehement supporter of, the law on open public meeting minutes is that you must publish a draft within 2 weeks of a meeting. So at a minimum, it should be a draft. It's actually supposed to be the actual minutes. But obviously, they're usually approved at the next meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that because it's been very spotty this year. And I think it's really important that the public is able to stay up with what the board is doing.
So noted.
Okay, the other question I had, just as, again, excuse me, an informative piece is that for the EMT stipend or whatever the state law.
EMS, the
Thank you.
firefighter and EMS
EMS,
ambulance.
right, and although I support our volunteers and them getting it, do you have a cost associated with that for current, and can you
Yes.
share that with
Yeah,
us?
we shared that also at the last meeting, but we're glad to share it again. We did the back of the envelope, if everybody were to take that, you know, and take their cut for it, it would be about $2,000.
What? A person?
No, for a
Total.
year, reduction in our tax income revenues,
It's just the village tax.
Yes,
village
just the
tax.
village tax.
the village tax.
Oh, you mean income tax,
No,
inflow.
no, so it's a,
So if you
They-
give them money, you get
No,
that
No,
money
no,
back?
no, no,
We're not giving them money.
we're not giving them any money. What happens is they get a 10% reduction on their assessment.
Right,
So then when they get billed for their taxes, they get billed at that 90%. And our revenue from taxes is reduced by that amount. That total amount of the volunteers who live in the village, who qualify for that, if they all took it, was approximately $2,000. It would lower our
lower
tax.
revenue,
Yes.
Lower our tax
Okay.
revenue by about $2,000.
okay.
Now, just so, for clarity here, when we get into this later, in a couple minutes, you know, there already is a state program that allows all of the EMS firefighters, volunteer firefighters, anybody who participates in a volunteer firefighting, like our fire company is, which is a volunteer fire company, village-funded volunteer fire company, they can, when they file their income taxes, automatically can state what company, and they get $200 tax credit. So they get to pick and choose. They can't get both. They can pick and choose which one of those gives them the greater amount, whether it's the state $200, or let's just say right now it's just the village and we know the county has approved it. If that doesn't amount to the $200, they can take the state, or if that goes above the 200, they can claim it because the county has approved this, and if we approve it, right, they can then pick and choose. Our hope, my hope, is that not only since the county has approved it, I hope we approve it, I hope the town approves it, because then we all pay a town tax as well, and then I hope the school approves it as well. And then maybe they could up the ante a little bit and get a little bit more money back.
Great, thank you.
At the end of the day, it's basically a way for the state to shift that cost from state revenues to local revenues.
Oh,
Good point.
They don't do that.
I mean, why would they do that?
Could never.
Donna was next.
well, just, Donna Warner, Beach Street. I wondered, because I sort of came in part because of an update, I was hoping for an update on Locust Hill. Can you just say quickly what the status is or what the timetable is for your assessment of water capacity?
Yeah.
So that we have some idea when it might come up again in the town?
Sure, we're hoping that Time Bond will be able to present that at the May meeting.
At the May meeting?
We're
Okay.
hoping, but that's not a commitment.
Okay, that's the update. Thank you very much. And I did want to add to the yard waste, make sure people know not to put their grass clippings on the street. I've got 2 people on my street who don't know, and they sat on the street for months.
Right.
Thank you.
So Donna's correct. The village composts leaves, and we will pick up small limbs and pieces of brush. We cannot and do not compost grass clippings, those you need to. And that's actually best if you just mow it back into your lawn. You can actually self-mulch your own lawn is really the best way to take care of those. And the reason why, to say, we've been stressing the separation of the leaves from the other brush and debris is that the vacuum truck runs basically on a big vacuum fan, and the fan is perfectly happy to suck up leaves. It is very unhappy to suck up limbs, and that's when it becomes damaged and we run into trouble. So by keeping those 2 things separate, we can keep our equipment running more frequently and with less repair.
We have 1 minute.
Sorry.
I won't
My
cut you
name's
off.
Victor Feldman, I'm with Daily Catch. I'm just asking this because I forgot to ask earlier before the budget hearing. What's the top line number on the budget for the general fund? I think last year was around 4.5 million, just for sake of comparison to last year's.
That's not the general fund,
That's the
That's the
total.
entire, including
entire
sewer
budget.
and everything.
including water and.
So actually what I want is all of those together. I was looking online, I just couldn't see it, maybe I missed it.
So it'd be the bottom row of the budget. Bottom line.
I don't have the tax in the total. Karen, do you have both of them?
So, the general fund is $2,836,498. The water fund is $1,044,934. And the sewer fund is $765,150.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, 6:30. I'm sorry, I'm going to cut off public comment for this one. We can come back to it if we need to, but I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing for the village tax exemption and firefighter and EMS volunteer public hearing.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we introduced this last month. There's been some discussion on it already. I don't know if I'm going to go through all of it in detail again, but we kind of gave a summary of how this works for the village, all right? And these are volunteer firefighters who belong to the village of Rhinebeck Fire Department who live in the village of Rhinebeck, all
Live
right?
and own property in the village.
Right,
Full-time.
and are property owners and
Yeah.
residents of it.
And
Thank
it's
you.
and it's their full-time residence.
Yes, thank you. So it applies only to those. We ran, and I forget the number, I think it was 19 people that were eligible. 17 people that were eligible for this if they decide to take it. We did the calculation and said if they took it based on their current assessed valuation, if it lowered it, and it came up to $2,000 and some minor change in terms of lowering our tax revenues, right? There's not much other detail to it, other than we can go into reading the law again, but at this time I'll open it up for public comment. Roger.
Hi there, Roger Corn, still live at 15 Rock. I really do support, I'm very supportive of this motion. I think any way that we as a community can give back to our volunteers, especially those who even put themselves at risk, is something we need to support. I guess my one concern here is, I know it's only for those who own property and live in Rhinebeck, but there are a number of volunteers who don't own the property or can't afford to own property in Rhinebeck anymore. What remedies are there or support can we give those who rent in our community?
So they still qualify for the state exemption, regardless of their residency status.
The state tax credit.
You know, the state tax credit that's been available for a long, long time. That's not going away. Right, so they're eligible for that. But as far as this law, the eligibility requirements are: the property is owned by the volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker. The property is the primary residence of the volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker. The property is used exclusively for residential purposes. The volunteer firefighter, excuse me, the volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker resides in the village of Rhinebeck, and the village of Rhinebeck is served by such an incorporated volunteer fire company or fire department or incorporated volunteer ambulance service. The volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker is certified by the authority having jurisdiction as an enrolled member of such an incorporated volunteer fire company, fire department, or incorporated volunteer ambulance service, and the volunteer firefighter or volunteer ambulance worker meets the minimum service requirement established by the village of Rhinebeck, which was established at 3 years. Okay?
So it's through the the property tax, so if you're a renter, I don't know, do you have an idea as what the mechanism would be?
You got, this microphone's way down there, might bring it
Oh.
up.
I was just saying, the mechanism for the money is through the taxes that the village collects, which is on this real estate property tax. So I was wondering if you have ideas for what other financial mechanism we have at play.
Let me noodle on that.
So because it's an all-volunteer fire department, we cannot pay them. And so there's the state income tax credit for $200, or what the state has done, in this last year, which is allow the municipalities to give a break on their property taxes. So I guess the theory is that the state tax credit will capture people who don't own their own property. And with any luck, the town will pass this and the schools will pass it, so that the folks who don't live actually in the village of Rhinebeck but serve in the village of Rhinebeck Fire Department will also be able to take advantage of it. The county has already passed it, so at least that portion of the taxes are good for everybody.
Okay, that's a step forward.
Yeah.
I disagree with this.
Are you done, Roger?
I think so for the moment.
Oh, wait, let me acknowledge, who's first? Come on, if I don't know your name, I'm sorry. Come on.
Michelle.
Michelle, come on.
Yeah, I'll have to second this. I don't know your name.
Roger.
Roger, yeah. This kind of goes back as old as King George. We might have wanted to get rid of him so the founding fathers wouldn't have to share their kitty with him, but they certainly didn't get rid of the property class ideology. And I think this is a continuation. So if you all could provide, at least me, maybe others, with who specifically came up with this language, the individuals.
The state, this is the state of New York provided the language for this law.
I think it's a real class system, double standard, and I think people who live in rental apartments and they're risking their own lives are just as important. And technically, majority of the people that might pay taxes, but they really are property owners. They own mortgages. So, just for clarification, we often forget that in the post-World War II, getting all those returned soldiers into becoming homeowners, when actually they're mortgage owners until the final month of the deed is paid. So I feel very, very strongly about this. We got enough of a class system for 400 years in this country. So who should I write to and any other Roger and any others who may be interested to challenge this?
I would write directly to Governor Hochul.
And Michelle, would you mind stating for the record your full name and your
Michelle
residence?
Lennon, Michelle with one L.
And your residence?
Yes,
Where?
in the woods.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you're the governor or Michelle Hinchy or Sarah Hanna.
As a new resident in the state of New York, although I lived here in Rhinebeck as a small child, along with our two senators, they're pretty remiss in responding. Long cry from how it was when I used to work in the city, when you heard back instead of getting voicemail. So this is all part of keeping the ruling class away from the people who actually pay their salaries. So I'll give it a go with her again. So thank you for bringing it up.
Elmer.
I concur with what's been said because my first response was, what about renters? You know, they put their lives on the line just as these other people do. I don't think the 200 suffices because if somebody has a super duper property and they pay really, and it's really highly assessed, they're going to get a much bigger rebate, which is very regressive. So the more you own, the bigger your rebate is going to be. So I think that's a problem. And then I did have a question, which is, You did the numbers on the 17 eligible people, but what would happen, and maybe this isn't part of the plan, I'm not clear, but it appeared that at some point, according to the state regs, you would get this for the rest of your life. You would have that 10% for the rest of your life. And if that were the case, how would that add to how much we would be paying in, let's say, 20 years?
So there is a grant for a lifetime exemption, which is any eligible enrolled member who accrues more than 20 years as an active volunteer firefighter for the village of Rhinebeck is qualified to continue to receive an exemption as long as shall be granted a 10% exemption as authorized by the article for the remainder of his or her life as long as his or her primary residence is located within the village of Rhinebeck.
Right, I read that, but I'm just curious. So let's say these 17 people stay for 20 years. So then we would have 20 people or 25 people plus those 17. You know what I'm saying? So have we looked at the future numbers, I think is what I'm asking.
I think it's impossible to predict. We don't
Yeah.
know who's gonna sign up, we don't know what's gonna happen with assessed values, we don't know what's gonna happen with tax bills, we don't know how many people are actually gonna stay for 20 years, like.
Well, I understand that, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying run some what-ifs just to
Yeah,
see
right.
if this balloon's out of control.
Too many-
That's all I'm
too
saying.
many
I'm not
ifs.
saying, I'm not gonna say we're gonna pin you down and you know exactly what's going to happen. You know, that's not realistic, but
Right.
maybe some what-ifs, you know. If 10 of these people stayed, you know, what would happen, you know, that sort of a thing.
Well, we gave you the what-if for right now, based on full-time, volunteer, active firefighters in the village of Rhinebeck and those who are lifetime members. So we know a number for today.
Yeah, I think that we should wrestle a little bit longer with that equity issue, though. I think that's very important. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, Roger, I'm gonna get somebody else, give somebody, anybody else? Roger?
Thanks. Just to follow up on Eleanor's point, I mean, yes, we can't guarantee or know exactly, but we can model scenarios, right? That's the art of economics, I guess. So if in the future, is there a kind of clawback to this? Does this need to be renewed every 5 years? So if the numbers look uncomfortable, then the village has an opportunity to revisit whether this is the right thing for the village.
Totally, it's a law, we can always change the law.
But you can automatically have the law cease, or is it just continue ad infinitum?
Well, the people that qualify for the benefits are probably continue to be entitled to them, but, or if the 20-year people, if someone's vested, then yeah, then we're,
We can always amend it to say any new members don't qualify
Yeah.
for this. We can always amend it to say it's 5% instead of 10%. And then on average, the village sort of budget goes up by 1.5 to 2% every year, so we can sort of safely assume that this $2,000 is gonna go up by 1.5 to 2% every year. Which it's gonna take a while, frankly, in my opinion, it's gonna take a really long time before that becomes a number that's significant enough to not have this be something that we provide for our volunteers.
Good.
And you also got to remember, the primary reason for getting this law is there's a lot of fire departments in the state and in the county or the region, a lot of fire companies that are struggling to get members. This law was meant to help those organizations who need members or get work. I hate, I don't want to jinx ourselves, I'm going to knock on wood, but we are so fortunate to have such a great volunteer fire department here, that we have so many active firefighters that are joining the Village of Rhinebeck Fire Department who are firefighters and EMS, or firefighters and EMS. We are fortunate here in the Village of Rhinebeck, and I hope this law stays in place so that we can even get more.
Thank you.
Mark, come on up. Sorry, Mark, you don't get a pass.
Mark first, town resident. How many people on the potential to get this are renters? You say there's 17 who could get it. Of the list, how many were renters? Because just so I want to understand the scope of the...
I didn't count them up,
We don't know.
but let's put it this way, today there's 45 active firefighters in the Village of Rhinebeck, which means
Well, in the department, or who live in the village?
there's 45 active in the total department.
Right.
Right. So now, the breakdown of those who are renters, I didn't count them, I'm sorry. I don't know the number.
There's a handful of them who own property in the town.
The reason why the 45 went to 17 wasn't rental. It was-
It's not
it was
it's
other
not renters to
conditions.
property
They
owners.
didn't live in the village.
Yeah, they either live in the town or they're renters. We don't know that.
My thoughts aren't great on this. Just a question, this also applies to life members and their spouses. Say there was a life member who recently deceased, does his family get that benefit still?
The way the law is written for lifetime exemption, which I read, says 20 years of an active volunteer service as certified by the Village of Rhinebeck shall be granted a 10% exemption as authorized by this article for the remainder of his or her life or his or her primary residence. So it's for the active firefighter.
So
The lifetime, it's not the spouse.
the widow-
There are other clauses that cover the spouse. If there's an unremarried spouse of a deceased enrolled member, the unremarried surviving spouse of a deceased enrolled member as certified by the Village of Rhinebeck is qualified to continue to receive the exemption as long as the deceased volunteer had been an enrolled member for at least 20 years and the deceased volunteer and unremarried spouse have been receiving the exemption at the time of his or her death. Okay?
Okay, so this isn't retroactive though, correct? It's only once it's passed?
It's passed as of, if we pass it, it'll be passed as of today.
But it is effective for volunteers who have been volunteers active for 20 years, starting whenever it's passed. But we don't owe them 20 years worth of property taxes.
No, I'm just thinking of
When does
cases
the
where
clock
there's
start
people recently
for the
deceased.
When we pass the law.
Yes.
So they would not be eligible.
If there's a lifetime fire member, they would be eligible though. As it says, the unremarried surviving spouse of a deceased enrolled member.
Is eligible.
This is less than 1/10 of 1% of our budget. Yeah, I mean, we make more in interest a year than this is costing.
I'm not checking.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, you're asking us questions about what's it gonna cost. This is for the village budget, it's less than 1/10 of 1% of our village budget. And frankly, it's a gesture. I mean, it's $200. The most some firefighter is gonna get a tax break for $200, which frankly feels like a gesture.
No,
No.
Based on their.
Oh, based upon the, right, I'm sorry, that's right. I'm sorry, excuse me, you're right. So, I mean, we're making a gesture as best we possibly can to do what we can for these people. And I think the budgetary impact is pretty much de minimis. I'm not worried about this spiraling into some sort of weird conflation with hundreds of firefighters taking 10% off of their
I don't know
budget.
why you're addressing this to me.
Well, because you seem to be concerned about the long-range budget implications of this law. And I just think that the long-range budget implications of this law are quite minimal.
I was actually more concerned about the spouses who were married to people who, and this, there's an active member, but if you're in the service, it's a family commitment. I think, Gary, you would know that. So I'm looking out for that interest, not the long-term financial
And it does
interest.
apply to spouses and even, was it unmarried couples, I think, right? It goes that far?
No.
No, it does not go that
No,
far.
just spouses.
So, yeah,
So
so
it was a mouthful of words, so I just wanted to understand
it certainly was.
what it meant.
And just for clarity, there's also an unremarried spouse of an enrolled member killed in the line of duty as well. They would be entitled. The firefighter needs to submit the certification, which is a form which we provide. They need to sign that they're an active firefighter, EMS, ambulance driver. They need to certify that they're with us. We work with the volunteer fire department. It's a village-run fire department in terms of the budget and everything else. we will give them, and they will have to reply to us to make sure that they're certified. So it's not gonna be an automatic that they can check the box. They have to complete the form. Any other questions? All good stuff.
So sorry, I guess, I'm horrible.
I'm gonna make you work for this, Roger.
Believe me, I already am. So to Vanessa's question, you suggested or encouraged me to think of some ideas that might make things more equitable. So to address inequities of those who are very wealthy property owners versus those who are not, or those who are renters. When can I submit those ideas?
You can submit them to us anytime.
We could always amend it.
Right.
You can always amend it. Okay.
Well, we are working off what the state has approved.
Right.
Right. We are not crafting our own law. We are working off what the state has approved for us to
Yeah,
do.
but we can research that.
But
Yeah.
don't you control your own property taxes?
No, oh, are you kidding? No, the state controls everything that we do with property taxes. We can control how much we levy, and that's pretty much it.
So we can't make a progressive
No,
Are you
property
sure
rate.
about that? I mean, we could look into that to make sure.
I mean, we can look into it, but the state, from what I understand, and the comptroller can help you answer this question if you're really curious about it, but property taxes are 100% controlled by state law. And we have some flexibility inside it, laws like this, the star exemption, the senior exemption. We can pass certain things that allow us to give people like breaks on their property taxes, but in terms of how they're administered, what we're allowed to tax, what we're not allowed to tax, and all of that, that is 100% guided by the state.
I'm thinking that that would be the outside limit, like that we could make it less than 10% if we want.
Yeah, we could absolutely make it less than 10%. We have like,
That's what I'm saying, if
Yeah.
there was a $3 million property, then we could,
no, we can't do it by individual properties though. We can't say this
We
person
can't.
gets 3% and that person gets 10%. We
It
can't
had
do
to
that.
apply to everybody.
That's inequitable.
but you might be able to do a proportion.
Yeah,
We can
progressive
look
income
into it.
taxes. Why can't we have progressive real estate taxes?
I-
That's done in California.
Honestly, I think progressive real estate taxes would be a brilliant idea, and we should talk about that with the state. That is a state law. Just like sales taxes and progressive, that's also a state thing. Like, I mean, although we do a lot, we actually have very little control about how we do a lot of it. It's all guided by state regulations. And they do that so that like the village of Rhinebeck isn't doing something completely different from the village of Red Hook, isn't doing something completely different from, you know, the city of Poughkeepsie, isn't doing something completely different from, like, you know, the state administers all of this. The state makes sure that Karen is doing her job. And if there's 1,000 different villages doing 1,000 different things, then the state can't regulate any of it.
But
And,
if
you
we
know,
can-
I don't agree
I-
in some ways with the way that the state has chosen to allow us to do certain things. Like, I do agree that some of this should be progressive. But,
It just seems like if the state, okay, so you talk about, you're kind of talking about preemption. The state says you can give a property tax break 10% of the value. So if you say not to exceed $1,500, I don't know if that, I don't think we've looked into that.
that was nowhere in the,
Nowhere in the law.
there was nowhere in the,
That's
like,
not what
the
preemption
law
is
gave us
about.
actually a
Preemption-
lot of, the law gave us a lot of choices. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to do the other thing? Like the draft that we got from the state.
Okay.
And, you know, up to $1,500 or up to a certain amount was not an option.
Can we look
If
at,
you can do it up to 10%, I don't know why you could say not to, up to 10%, not to exceed 1,500. I mean, let's just see what people have to say, but.
Well, thanks for that background.
Yeah.
I guess I'll reach out to the state senator and representative.
you do, because the more you can get for our volunteer firefighters, the better.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yep.
Any other comment? Linda? Next
Get
time,
my exercise for the day.
sit closer next time.
Yeah, really. I'll sit over here. The comment was that, well, if we don't like it, we can change it, right? You really can't change it. I just want to,
We can
I
change it
think-
within the bounds of what we're allowed to do, yeah.
within that framework, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
But to some extent, but I think an item like this really deserves for the public because it creates a lot of confusion or sometimes ill will because they feel it's unfair or whatever when they don't really understand what it is, right? So if we could do use, someone suggested, in effect, use cases. So you could say, what would it be for a person whose house is assessed at 500,000, the median, house assessment in the village? How many people are eligible? This is what it is, and so they can see the numbers and understand that you have the ability to roll it back entirely and say, we're no longer going to support it at some point if it becomes untenable or totally inequitable.
So like put something out with this, like a little FYI
Yeah.
sheet?
I think something like that, something that's in the budget that sounds like it's a lot of money, but isn't necessarily a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? If they see it.
And we did try, we introduced it at the last meeting,
Okay.
Very well.
I might have been late,
And-
that happens.
and we announced our public hearing, and we publicized our public hearing. We followed the due process for passing this law.
I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is that people that aren't here, that do see it, hear about it on the street, don't really understand it.
We can come up with a little FYI fact sheet about it.
Right. I think most people support our volunteers and appreciate our volunteers, but I think that some of these things, do get misunderstood. So, my thought.
As does our brush pickup.
True.
Not to characterize them as being equitable.
I just want to say something to their point. We have one arrow in our quiver. We levy taxes. So if we want to make an incentive for someone to engage in fire service, that's the only thing we got is to reduce property taxes. It's not like we're being selective or if someone comes up with an idea for renters, that's great. Maybe we'll give them a break on the, I wouldn't want to say water or wastewater bill. 'Cause
Yeah.
but that's the arrow we have in our quiver.
That's a good point.
We're a tax levy government entity, tax levying government entity.
Doing what we can.
Michelle, come on up.
Sorry.
Maybe we should have a rolling microphone.
Yeah, well, I first got here, now I'm going to sit over here.
Quick question, are these folks unionized, was there any input from across the state for volunteer, did they know about it?
The volunteer fire departments?
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're very much, in fact, they
The
asked me.
reason why they're not all here is because they assumed that this evening was going to go well for them.
Well, I think we're trying to make it go better for them.
So
I hear that.
Yeah, more inclusive.
they asked me tonight if they should come, and I said, I don't see the need for you to come and represent, because we understand your position, they understand our position going into it, but
But I mean, I personally, as a resident, I would like to have heard from and heard from any who were renters versus mortgage, property.
and as our
taxpayers.
volunteer fire department, they have debated this a lot within their own department as well, and are fully 100% behind it,
Including the renters.
including the renters, yes.
I'm curious, okay. Maybe the next time there should be a survey sent out to every citizen, a resident rather,
To what end?
so we can get their feedback as well as have the fire folks here. I mean, I'd like to hear personally from those who are renting if they're fully aware.
So the fire department has a monthly meeting, the first Monday of every month. And they've discussed this at multiple ones of those meetings that approximately, 60 people go to on
Yeah.
average? And they are 100% behind this. including the people who are not actually getting an advantage from it, which I think is actually one of the really wonderful things about our fire department, is that they're all supportive of each other, even if they're not going to personally benefit. And I'm fully aware that the renters need something as well. I'm not arguing against that, but as Brant mentioned, we have a very limited quiver of how we can help people. And we can help people through property taxes. And so, you know, if you want to storm the State House, I welcome you to do it, and I'm sure the fire department would actually help you with that. But we can't do that. We can talk to, we have conversations with our state rep and our state senator all the time, and we can raise it with them. Certainly, and we can say that there seems to be appetite in the village for making this a more inclusive thing. What can we do about this? Maybe they can increase the income tax credit from $200 to $400. I don't know. Maybe once the state sort of figures out how much of their tax revenue is coming back to them because people are shifting it to the villages and towns and schools and counties, then maybe they'll increase it. I don't know. We can only encourage them to do that. But here, the 5 of us, we can only work with property taxes.
Michelle, you seem to be concerned. Would you like to meet with our fire department? We can arrange that. I'll set that up for you,
I appreciate it.
okay?
I'm a working stiff, so can't be.
So are most of them.
Yeah.
So are most of them.
In fact, I kept hearing the garage downstairs. You could probably go downstairs right now and grab one of them and ask about it.
Well, I'd like it a little more and like to hear from all of them, but I think if, at a minimum, but I will follow up, is that this whole thing, I don't know what to call it, should serve as a cautionary tale, how to prevent this with any other thing where we have kind of layered people. Like it's, you know, property versus non. So, yeah, we got to really work on getting economic inclusion,
Yeah.
which is a real Achilles heel,
You don't disagree with you.
real Achilles heel.
Thank
Keep
you.
in mind, Switzerland, majority of people are renters. Did you know that? Germany too. Only in America is it, but anyway, that's for another day. But thank you.
Only American do the top wealthy people pay less than 40% of income taxes. You
Well,
know, I
this
mean,
is why we have
there's
to
all
chip
sorts
away.
of problems with this country.
That's why we have to chip away and, yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to read the resolution. Whereas, resolution, I don't know what number, 2023, whereas the following amendment to Chapter 110 of our taxation was introduced by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck on March 14th, 2023. And whereas a public hearing was held on April 11th, 2023 at 6:30 at the Village Hall, 76 East Market Street, Rhinebeck, New York. Notice of said hearing duly published, and at which time all interested parties had an opportunity to be heard. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck determined this action to be a Type 2 action based on the criteria found in 6 New York CRR number 617-5, 22-33, is therefore has determined that there are no adverse environmental impacts associated with the adoption of this local law. Now therefore be enacted that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Rhinebeck, the following Village Law of Rhinebeck Local Law number 2 of 2023 taxation, amended by inclusion new article as attached, renumbered the existing article as Article 5 and renumbered. This amendment shall take effect immediately upon filing of the office of the Secretary of the State in accordance with Section 27 of the Municipal Home Law Rule, dated April 11th, 2023. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resolution as presented.
Second.
Discussion.
Once again, I'm going to have to abstain from voting on this.
All in favor say aye.
I just want to say one thing. We're
Oh.
doing what we can. We're doing what we can. Okay. Yeah.
I would be interested in seeing more stuff too, if we can cap, do a cap on a $3 million house or however we could do And if it could be
Nothing to
extended.
stop us from going forward. From doing
For now, let's do it. We can amend it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Abstain?
Trustee Slavy.
So carried. Thank you all for your comments and participation. Okay, we're going to move on. Next on the agenda is the 2023 MIG application.
Treasurer's report.
Oh, sorry, thank you. Get so excited to get it all going.
Okay.
Karen?
Thank you. Treasurer's report is for the period ending March 31st. The general fund ended the month with $332,609.41. The water fund ended the month with $33,964.13. The sewer fund ended the month with $59,340.39. Our New York class investments in general water and sewer combined earned about $9,000 this month. The vouchers presented for payment in the general, to include prepaids in the general fund, total $82,060.64. In the water fund, $29,486.67. In the sewer fund, $45,340.68. Bills for the water treatment plant upgrade, total $18,055. A grant for the compost bill, $380. A MIG grant, this is for the fire department AEDs, $9,090. A bond interest payment of $7,500. And escrow bills totaling $4,520.39. An operating statement is provided with the revenue and expenditures through April 11th. The water and wastewater billing and adjustments as signed off by Trustee Nuneker are presented for authorization.
I'd like to get the water and wastewater bill adjustments approved as submitted.
Second. There you go.
Rick got it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Also, as quarterly billings have been consolidated, 2 months will be given for payment. This is good for the customer, and it's also good for Chrissy for processing. So the April bills will have a due date of May 25. I encourage the board to pursue the meter replacement project for touchpads. This will reduce some of the meter issues, and I would certainly like to work with Brent on moving forward with that. Budget amendments will be presented at the May meeting. The budget 23-24, thank you, as the budget is passed. Now the tax cap and constitutional tax margin will be filed with New York State, and the tax bills will be calculated and then prepared by the county with unpaid water and sewer re-levied on those. The fiscal year 22-23, as the end of the fiscal year is May 31st, the year-end close process has begun. That's all I have.
Thank you, Karen. All right, moving on to resolutions. First one on the agenda is the county 2023 MIG grant application. This is a combined MIG grant application for both fire and police for a total of $158,200. The application, whereas the applications are now being accepted for the 2023 Municipal Investment Grant, which is the MIG program. The total allocation for this initiative by the county is $1 million. And whereas this year's grant program will focus on supporting initiatives that improve and enhance the capacity and capability of fire, rescue, and law enforcement operations. And whereas all local government entities with taxing authority within Dutchess County can apply for funding, including all fire and rescue agencies, municipal, nonprofit, and fire districts, and law enforcement agencies, including municipal law enforcement agencies. Whereas entities are encouraged to coordinate efforts and apply jointly where possible, and whereas applications must be submitted to the Dutchess County Grant Portal by 3 p.m. on May 3rd, 2023. Whereas the Village of Rhinebeck will submit a joint application for both fire and police for $158,200. $80,200 is for police, $78,000 for fire. Whereas the village police needs bulletproof vests and carriers, ballistic helmets and shields, turncoats, and tactical first aid kits. And whereas the village fire department needs an exhaust system for the building, forest fire gear, and additional fire turnout gear to replace their outdated gear. Whereas the village, therefore be it resolved to submit the MIG grant for $158,200 with a 10% contribution from police and fire capital expense that will improve and enhance the capacity and capability of fire rescue and law enforcement operations. I'd like to make a motion to accept the submission of the 2023 MIG grant application.
Second.
Thank you, Lydia. Discussion.
Is the 10% a required match, or was that
It's
us
not required, it's just
sweetening the
us.
deal?
Right.
Okay.
You want to lower or you want to make it higher? Please, state your case.
I mean, I was just curious
No.
if that number came from, discussion with Pete and,
That number came from my discussion with them.
yeah,
It's not edicted by the county.
yeah, okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor to approve the resolution for the 2023 MIG grant application, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So carried. Vanessa, easement for Violet Hills.
All right. So I brought this up at the last meeting. This is the sight lines easement at 22 Violet Hill Road, which is the neighbor just to the south of the secondary driveway to the village highway department. And we were able to incorporate some comments from Brant. So the draft that you see on the cloud is what I'd like to vote on. The suggested language from Brant was really just to make sure that no obstructions would be above grade on this slice of the neighbor's property.
And we have access to remove
Yeah,
those
right,
obstructions.
right, and more declarative language around our access to that piece of the property. So I'd like to make a motion to vote on the resolution.
Second?
Discussion? So I have a discussion about what above grade means. If you've been to the site, this brush is in a gully between the property's lawn and the proposed driveway.
Right.
So all of this brush is in this very deep,
Right, so it's just the
Gullies.
grade meaning like your sight line across to the
the
road.
road.
And one of the reasons why we want to have this easement is so that it's for future. Even if the property owner at 22 Violet Hill Road should sell the property, there's a new owner, this agreement remains in place, attached to the property, not to the property owner. So if a new property owner comes in and wants to build, a 6-foot-high fence there, they're not going to be able to do that.
But we don't have to take the brush down to the ground level. The road is here, the ground level is down here, we can cut it at this level.
Right. Or should brush be left to grow on the area of the lawn that's not down in the gully?
Right.
Then we would have the right to remove that.
Yeah.
I have a question about the easement area.
Mhm.
Is that part of this discussion, or is that?
The easement area is, we have a drawing of it from Time Bond.
Did you run that by the county? Look, is that the area they're?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I wanted.
Yes, Time Bond is working with the county on
Okay.
that sightlines area. And coming up later in our meeting tonight, I'll be talking about surveying work associated with this.
That's, yeah. I guess my question is more about that, but.
Any other discussion? All in favor of accepting the easement for Violet Hill as presented by Trustee Bertozzi, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So carried. Thank you.
And
Next
this
one.
is, just to clarify, this is not in effect until the neighbor signs it. So
Right.
it's not a done deal yet.
And either way, it'll be good for the highway department to have it.
Oh, absolutely.
No, and it's over and above what I'm working. it's over and above what we need for compost. It's needed for us to maintain
Yeah.
accessibility into the driveway.
So one caveat though, say the easement, we didn't go through with it, we could still use flaggers at the end of the driveway. That county said that is fine, we would just need a permit for that. I'll probably pursue that permit just as a backup plan. But this easement is not required, but we think it will be, set us up for the best success in using the driveway.
It's certainly more workable.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. All right, the next is a resolution in opposition to the discharge of contaminated water into the Hudson River. I think most, if you have not heard about this, the Indian Point plant is about to release about 1 million gallons of water that has radioactive titanium in it that is a pollutant to the Hudson River. All right? So this resolution is in opposition to the discharge of that contaminated water into the Hudson River. What I want to point out is, and we got further clarification on this today, I amended this based on the impact because the original proposal said it was an impact to the Hudson River, our drinking water. It is not an impact to our Hudson River, to our water or our intakes or any of the municipalities that are in the Hudson 7, right? It's not an impact to the intake in terms of the drinking water. Is it a pollutant to the Hudson River? Yes. Do we want it in the Hudson River? No, right? But as an impact to our drinking water, it is not. And that has been clarified today, and the people who drafted this original resolution have now retracted that statement so that it is no longer in that proposal going to the state that it impacts the drinking water.
Well,
But it,
hold on.
Hang on, yeah,
Hold on. Does it, I mean, it doesn't impact, it doesn't like reach a certain limit of X, Y, and Z that's in the
No.
drinking water, but there is a new added X, Y, and Z that is now in the Hudson River that is in our drinking water. It's just not considered to be dangerous
No.
for human consumption.
it does not reach our drinking water intakes. So what we have found, right, and I'm going to read the statement that the Hudson 7, and as chairman of the Hudson 7, I released. As stewards of the Hudson River, the drinking water supply, we are concerned about any pollution in the river. Even though these releases would not affect our drinking water quality, we strongly support the proposed state legislation in Senate Bill number S5181 and Assembly Bill 5338 that will prohibit radioactive waste from being dumped into Hudson River. Holtec, which is the company, reckless decision to rush its plan to dump tritium in as early as May should be stopped. This original proposal was done, they were originally going to release this in August. There's legislation at the state level that will stop them from doing it. They are trying to jump the gun and do it in May. We are trying to get ahead of that and say, you cannot jump the gun. We do not want you to jump the gun. We do not want you to release that. But, just for clarification, right, the nearest intake to this release of the Hudson 7 is 50 miles upstream from Indian Point.
So Indian Point's closer to the city than we are.
Yes.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
We
Now I
understand.
see- Now I see what you're saying.
South of Poughkeepsie.
Let me further explain. We understand, of course, that the river is tidal, and the river flows both ways,
Right.
right? Upstream or downstream with each tide. But the Hudson 7's technical advisors consulted with the river scientists, right? And informed us that the water this far north would not be affected because of the volume of discharge relative to the volume of the river and the overall downstream flow of the river, okay? Now, what we would like as a Hudson 7 and have the municipalities do is be able to, when they do this, get some legislation in that forces them to test, right? So that, I like data, I like a data point, I like to know if it's real or not. Right now the scientists are saying it's good, but we would like to get legislation in that also forces them to test for this radioactive release, right? I can get into some more science if you would like, onto why this decision was made the way it is, but it will not impact our drinking water or any of the Hudson 7 municipal drinking waters, which is why the whereas statement, whereas there are community members who depend on fish from the river as a food source, and whereas the 7 communities upriver who source their drinking water from the Hudson stand against pollution discharges to the river, whereas this radioactive discharge would not affect any mid-Hudson water quality where we draw our water. Okay? So whereas the river is an estuary that flows from south to north, as well as north to south, this fact must be considered. And whereas the river also serves as a source of recreational activities and represents an economic resource that will be endangered by this reckless action, now therefore be it resolved that the village of Rhinebeck strongly opposes the plan to release over 1 million gallons of contaminated water from Indian Point Nuclear Power Plant site into the Hudson River. I'd like to make a motion to accept this resolution to be passed on to the state.
Second.
Any other discussion?
I thought it was a typo, that you said that this radioactive discharge would not affect the Hudson River pond.
It's not a
It
typo.
was intentional.
Not a typo. And confirmed again today that the original drafters of this resolution have retracted that statement. Okay?
So should the state fail to act and this stuff gets dumped in the river, we don't have to panic that our drinking water is
We do not.
contaminated?
That's correct.
Does anyone south of the Hudson 7 use the Hudson River for drinking
No.
water?
No, salty.
No, it's just salty, yeah.
Nope.
Are anyone north of the Hudson 7 use the?
There is a small community up in the northern section of Albany that does draw off of a bay, but it's isolated, and from a standpoint, they don't have the same implications that we have. We are unique within this area to have these 5 water treatment plants on the Hudson River, 3 on this side, 2 on the other side, that represent 106,000 people who get their drinking water from the Hudson River. We are unique in that aspect in terms of we depend on the Hudson River as a source of supply for us. I would just like to just further comment that the Hudson 7 has been in place now for a little over 4 years, and without the Hudson 7, a lot of this information would not come forward and would not be acted upon. So this organization has been very active in helping to protect the Hudson River and us as a drinking water source. But our focus of the Hudson 7 is on the drinking water. I just want to make that very clear.
If people are concerned about this, what should they do?
Right to the state right now. Because this is going to happen in May, if it's not stopped by the legislation that's on there. It's in the committee. It's into committee right now, as we speak.
Also Riverkeeper here?
Hang on.
How many gallons of?
1 million.
1 million.
1 million gallons. Okay.
Someone just asked about Riverkeeper.
Yeah, Linda, I will get that. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted people to know too, Riverkeeper has been very active in fighting this as well, so it's just another organization to contact and work with.
Absolutely. Good point. I made a motion. I think we have a second.
Yes.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Okay. Lydia, sidewalk dining.
Well, we had a conversation about authorizing sidewalk dining for the summer season of 2023. We held a public comment on April 3rd, April 4th, where there was general consensus that what we did last summer worked reasonably well. And so here we are. Would you like me to read the whole resolution? No. Okay. The resolution is on the web, and once we vote on it, it will be available in its final form. It's basically saying that it's allowing certain of the village's restaurants to be able to utilize the sidewalk in front of their facade under certain conditions, abiding by all SLA regulations from April 14th until November 1st. I came up with April 14th mostly because the weather's getting nice. But I do know that the restaurant community would be very grateful for this to happen at the absolute latest by the first weekend that the farmer's market is also open, which would be April 28th.
No, they're the first weekend in May. But,
Well, April 28th would be the Friday, yeah.
They're open May 7th.
is,
Oh, all right, well then it would be May 5th.
right.
But, yeah.
Are there any, I know, well, let's make a motion. I know we've got discussion.
So I make a motion to approve this resolution.
Second, discussion.
Well, I think we heard.
Excuse me,
Oh,
I wanted to ask.
sorry. Mr. Mayor.
It's prerogative.
One of the things that came up, is there any changes in this resolution from last year to this year?
The dates. That's it. Nothing about the actual process, fees, design requirements, et cetera, et cetera.
Last time, 2 weeks ago, I guess, I spoke about the area between the two tree wells.
Yeah.
There's no parking. It didn't, can you point to me where that's
Yes,
covered?
can.
I read it
So
quickly.
it's okay. In appendix, in attachment A, which actually is the application and operating rules for the sidewalk dining, section 6 discusses if alcohol is intended to be served in the outdoor dining area.
Mhm.
Section 7 is if no alcohol is being served in the sidewalk dining area. And section 8 is if no alcohol is being served in the sidewalk dining area and a no parking zone is located on the adjacent public street, the dining area may be established on the curb side of the sidewalk and will not require SLA required barriers.
Okay.
All other rules of this permit will apply. To be clear, I don't think there is any establishment in the village other than Samuel's that would qualify for this
Okay.
particular clause. And they took advantage of it last year, and so we all remember what that looked like last year.
I think at our hearing, people spoke very positively about the outdoor dining experience and what they wanted, and I think the concern was making sure that the sidewalks had enough clearance and throughway for everybody to be
Yeah.
able to move, and we've accomplished that. And so, really, at the last meeting, the public comment was really overwhelmingly in favor of this.
Yeah. I mean, it was gratifying. I mean, obviously, it's not as much as some people would like, and it might be slightly more than other people would like. And so, like any true government compromise, everybody's a little frustrated. But I think on the whole, most people are actually kind of delighted inside that frustration. So I think, for the most part, we've come up with a really good compromise, short of widening the sidewalks and completely changing the streetscape. I'd like to acknowledge that this is, once again, a temporary solution to terminate on November 1st, and we would have to reauthorize it for next year. But with any luck, the comprehensive plan committee will have some recommendations for our zoning code before then, at which point perhaps this can, a version of this conversation can become something that's part of the overall zoning code in the same way that it is for retailers.
Any other comment by the board? Hearing none. All in favor of passing the Village of Rhinebeck resolution for outdoor dining, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Oh, sorry, as,
So you can't change it
no,
now?
I know, but for April 14th?
What?
For April 14th?
Yes,
Great,
as presented.
great.
Okay,
So just one thing, if you are a
No.
restaurant who would like to take advantage of this, Ryan will have all of the information as of tomorrow.
great, thank you. Okay, mulch sale. Last year, we amended our cost for our mulch only because there are costs for preparing the mulch, which is the leaves and brush and all that stuff that we pick up and grind at the, at our highway garage out on 308. The costs have gone up, as well as the cost of delivery and everything else associated with it. But independent of that, we have so much mulch. I mean, Vanessa, you could never use it in your lifetime at your compost.
Do you know how many yards we have?
I'm gonna guess the piles, there's 2 piles that have to be 50 to 100 yards each in there. It's immense, the amount of mulch that we've accumulated out there. So I don't want you to worry that if the compost goes through, we don't have enough mulch. And plus, we're bringing in everything that we have
Right.
as well and adding. So the issue is we need to prepare space, right? We have limited space out there for doing this. We get calls every week for people who want our mulch and do it, but right now it's the springtime. And people are in high demand of using this mulch for their gardens and their flower beds and whatever they have out there. So it's really in our best interest, if we can, to make it available to as many people as much as possible, to help reduce our supply, right, and create space for the new volume coming in, because we know the brush pickup and the leaf pickup never ends in the village of Rhinebeck. Right? Never ends. So that I would like to make a resolution for a spring mulch sale, whereas the village will sell mulch at a discounted rate of $30 per yard and $15 per yard for bulk orders of 5 yards or more. And whereas the village will waive the $150 loading fee for mulch picked up from the highway department. And whereas the delivery within the village will remain free, deliveries outside the village will still have the fee of $50. And therefore be it resolved that the spring mulch sale will go into effect on 4/12 and last through 4/28 of 2023. I'd like to make a motion to accept the spring mulch sale for the month of April.
Why not run it longer?
Second, and then.
Second it?
Yeah,
That's good.
second.
Why not run it longer?
Well, we talked about that, and that's a good question. We said, and I'm sympathetic to Vanessa, I don't want to deplete. Let's just say we get somebody that comes in there, and we have people who come in there with tractor trailers, and we load them up. And we now are depleting our pile.
Do we have people who come in with that much?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we do. We've had several people who get boatloads of it.
Great.
Right, and we want to make that available to them as well, because we want to do that, but I don't want to deplete the pile to run longer. So I'm amenable to, if this sale doesn't work, or we don't do enough, to extend it afterwards.
Okay, this may be too hard to do, but if we set aside the amount that we think the mulch piles, the compost is gonna need, sell the rest to our heart's content.
I don't know how much. You got a number?
Yeah, if we're doing, watch me do some math, everybody. If we're doing 2 yards of food scraps per week, the ratio is somewhere between 2 or 3 to 1. So
2 to 3 mulch per 1 of compost?
Yeah,
Okay.
So that'd be 6 yards maximum
per week,
per week of our own
times
stuff.
52 weeks.
So 6 times, what, 300 yards approximately?
Yeah.
Plus whatever else we're picking up and making along the way.
So, if we were successful, when would we have a compost facility up and
Yeah, I mean,
running?
like, we could sell everything we have right now,
Okay.
and I don't think impacts.
That's my point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so why don't we run it longer?
Well, we can extend it, Rick, if we need.
Okay, well, we won't be meeting.
Well, we also want to make some money on the mulch.
Make it
We,
until the next.
whatever, what do you want to extend it to? I'm okay.
I'd say May 30th,
Yeah, or to, June 1st, whatever.
or May 31st.
Yeah, this,
That's cool. I mean, that's like the peak
Yeah.
time for
Yeah.
people gardening and.
I mean, technically, you don't put your plants out until after Mother's Day.
It's gonna take a while just for the
Right.
word to get out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I would limit it at least till
Hey.
May 31st, or what's the weekend?
If Vanessa says yes, I'm okay. I didn't want her to be upset.
We could do, what is that weekend? We could do,
The last Friday is May 26th of that month.
or June 2nd. Why don't we do June 2nd? And I think in, just a small comment, the $150 loading fee, not to put too fine a point on it, but I can drive 20 minutes to a place that has mulch and have it loaded for $0
In your pickup truck.
in my pickup truck.
Right, we don't charge pickup trucks. This is for the mass bulk
Oh,
loading.
got it. Okay.
This is where we're out there with
They
a,
have to use the loader.
we're out there with a loader filling 10-yard dump trucks or whatever.
Got it. Okay. Not just like someone coming in for a yard at a time. Okay. That's reassuring.
And everybody needs to make an appointment if they want it, just as a reminder, if you want mulch, please come and get our mulch. We have lots of mulch, right?
And come to the village hall and pay for it first.
Honestly, I don't think a lot,
Yeah, you
I
can
don't
order it through Martina.
yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that we do this, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, we
should
get
put a
we get,
skydive
we get
outside
calls.
Village Hall.
I know,
A lot
right?
of people
The mulch guy?
We get a lot of calls.
Okay,
We really do.
okay.
And even if they do contact highway, they forward them to us.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so Chrissy accepts those payments and.
So come to Village Hall, pay for your mulch, and we'll make arrangements for you to come and get it. Or if you're in the village, we will deliver it for free.
So
Okay.
I would like to amend the resolution so that the last day of the mulch sale will be June 2nd, 2023.
Okay. If that needs to be seconded, I did that. I'll do that. Yep.
All right, so I'm amending the motion to accept the Village of Rhinebeck spring mulch sale with the amendment of 4/12/2023 to 6/2/2023.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well done. Let's sell some, come and get some mulch.
Okay. Very good stuff.
Are they still selling compost?
I think that's all
Yes.
gone.
No, it's not.
It's not?
Oh, it's not?
No, it's not. We have several yards of compost material out there.
There you go.
Yeah, we did not run a spring sale on the compost because we purchased that, and so it is whatever the price is.
Oh,
But there is several yards of compost
thank you.
out at the highway garage. Okay? I was just there yesterday. I witnessed it, so I know it's there.
Definitely there.
Okay. We put a dump truck out for bid.
Oh, that's very good.
We have received 3 bids for the F-550 dump truck that we solicited for bid. I couldn't see, I figured we'll just open them here. They haven't been opened.
All right.
Everybody's okay? Bid number 1 opened up is a bid for the 2002 Ford F-550 dump truck, $4,500.
From whom?
From Paul Delfino. I couldn't read the print, but it's,
Of any relation?
Yes,
I don't,
yes it is.
I don't. Second bid. Sorry. This is a revised bid for the 2002 used highway department dump truck, the Ford F-50. Revised bid from the same person, Paul Delfino. Revised to $5,309.
He's bidding against himself.
Anybody want to wager on the last one?
Oh. Really wants that truck.
All right, this is to whom it can concern, it is from a different source.
Let's go.
I, James Himmelwright, would like to place a bid of $3,050 on a 2002 Ford F-550 up for auction. Thank you for your time and consideration. James Himmelwright. I'd like to make a motion to accept the revised bid from Paul Delfino for $5,309. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. Any discussion?
I just wanted to report that Kyle said that some of the proceeds for this will go towards the lighting and lettering of the new dump truck.
Excellent source of the money. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Government in action. Rick, tree planting.
Okay.
Is it going to be as exciting?
No, it's not nearly as exciting. The final act of our tree planting effort on the village gateway districts is to plant 5 more trees. These are bald and burlapped trees that can't really be planted by volunteers because they're just too big and heavy to move around. And that will complete our gateway planting cycle, which was done on Route 9 and on East Market Street. So I asked Martina to put out bids and put out a public notice that we wanted to have 5 bald and burlap trees planted. Locations are specified and some planting instructions are specified. We received 1 bid back from Cotter Landscape Management for $2,450 to do the planting as specified. I would like to make a motion that the board accepts this bid from Cotter Landscaping and that we are able to move forward.
Second. Discussion?
So this is, I said, this is the final piece as paid for by the Frost Foundation. So we'd like to thank the Frost Foundation once again for their generous support of this project.
All in favor say aye. Aye. So carried. Very good. When will he do it? I should ask when he would do it.
It will be done within the next 2 weeks. Say that the regular spring planting is on Saturday the 29th, and it needs to be accomplished prior to that. We have a schedule set out.
Okay. Very good. All right. Moving on. Under current projects, as we talked about before, there was no updates submitted for any of the current projects. And I'll read the projects just so everybody has a reference in their mind as to all the things that this board is working on. One is the water plant upgrade, our Center Street program or project, the Village Hall sidewalks, 6 Mulberry Street, the Historic District, Locust Hill, our emergency antenna, and our compost.
I do have an update, and there were 2 documents on the cloud.
Oh,
Yeah.
I also wanted to talk about the historic district really quickly.
see, this is what happens.
I know, I'm sorry,
You
guys.
know?
I know.
You had submitted, I thought we put them under other places.
No, they're under current project. Yeah.
But then we need to note it here, Martina, if she does. We didn't do that.
We talked about it, and it's labeled under compost on the cloud. Under
So
current
we
No,
project.
but I'm on the agenda.
We'll figure out a way to make sure that the
Yeah.
agenda.
I don't know how you'd like me to label that, but
We'll
it's
figure
on
it out.
the
I'm
cloud.
going to work on that one.
Okay.
But Lydia, I'm going to hold her accountable. She did not.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I just wanted to share with the board, we did receive a letter, thanks to you, Gary, reaching out to the county to get in writing that they would require a permit with a flagger for the Violet Hill Road driveway. And if we wanted to, we could also pursue that easement. So I just wanted to include the letter here for the record. And then I also want to include for the record that We did apply through the Department of Environmental Conservation, the Division of Materials Management, Region 3, for our planned compost facility to be a registered facility, and we did receive that approval. So that's also just on the record.
Great. Well done.
Lydia?
I shared with you all that, I asked 4 members of our community who have deep knowledge of architecture, historic preservation, historic districts, to basically come up with a recommendation on what to do about the expanded historic district. And yesterday they gave me a really comprehensive recommendation, and I shared it with all of you. The question here, I don't know if we want to talk about it right now, because I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at it. But the question that I have about this is, we are currently in front of the planning board. We have, it's not an official request, but there was a conversation that was had between a potential applicant and the planning board about a property that is in that sort of no man's land of, it is subject to a historic demolition permit, but it is not currently subject to planning board review. So what we were worried about, that kind of conflict in our laws has come true with a potential house. And so I would like to make sure that we get on this particular zoning code change quickly. And I just got this recommendation yesterday. So how would we like to handle this? They made a recommendation of both a date and a boundary that is different than what the state did. They were very thoughtful about it. I see no reason to not, frankly, go with their recommendation. But this is obviously going to take a lot of public conversation and input and all of the rest of it. And so how would we like to handle this? Do we want to have a special meeting? Do we want to, have it all happen on May 11th or May whatever it is, with, a draft law and all, I know that we like to workshop things before we actually present them in public hearing. So here we are.
The recommendations were basically like the age of significance, era of elegance, whatever it is, and the geographic area. So that's only 2 points, right?
Yeah.
And the rest of it is you and I can actually come up with a draft again, because we basically had one, right?
Yeah, and honestly, the draft that we created isn't, it's
I think it's good. It's
Yeah.
really good. So we should discuss this, the
1945 and the new date.
1945 versus 1970, and
Right, and then the new boundaries as well.
And the
new
question is, do
boundaries.
we want to do that as a follow-up workshop to the one we had before? Or do
Right.
we want to do it as a public hearing?
Right, I know that sort of raising an idea in a public hearing and voting on it the same night is a little it's
I
not,
don't like that.
it's not great, because it doesn't give people time to digest it and all the rest of it. So if the goal, just to remind all of us, for a zoning code change, it has to go in front of Dutchess County Planning, and so any zoning code changes take at least a month anyway. So, being expeditious about this, now that we actually have a solid recommendation, I think is important. So do we want to have a public comment at the end of April?
Given the number, my opinion, given the number of people who voiced opinions,
Yeah,
as we went through this before,
yeah,
and the explanation, I think it deserves to have
its own conversation.
its own conversation.
Okay. I agree. So could we schedule, could we have a special meeting on, today's the 13th? No, that's June.
I have to go downstairs and get the calendar to make sure. if that's what you want to do.
And sorry, is this a public hearing?
No, it would be a public comment. It would we could talk about it.
It's a special meeting.
It's a special meeting.
Okay.
It's a meeting,
publish this letter.
Yeah, like publish this thing and publish like, you know, Brant and I can get together on the draft language and we can publish that too, and then we can all have a conversation about it as a community.
Our next regular meeting would be the 8th.
Right, so I'm talking about
Excuse me,
doing
no.
this on April 25th. I don't know, just because usually whenever we have a special meeting, it tends to be on the fourth Tuesday. It doesn't have to be on the fourth Tuesday. Martina's about to tell us that it probably can't be.
It depends on
Yeah,
I'm available.
great.
I'm not.
Oh. Are you available, Brant?
Yeah, I think so. I'll make myself.
but let's make sure the room's available.
Yeah.
Martina's going to get the phone.
Right. So could you hold that thought? till
Yeah, I
we
could totally hold
come
that
back?
thought. Yep.
And then we can, if you want, we can come back to it when she comes back.
Yep.
Okay? Any other comment on, anything else you wanted to comment on the list?
No, and I will tell you in advance next time.
Thank you.
I just wanted to point out that at the next monthly meeting that I would have the guys come in from the water and wastewater project.
Oh, great.
Again, but more brief.
More flocculations,
Yeah, a little less.
a little less flocculation.
Hey.
What did you want?
The 25th.
Surprisingly open.
Surprisingly open. You okay if you're not here?
What time?
6. I don't know, 6. Yeah. Okay.
Works for me.
Great.
You also take public comments on them.
Yeah. So I make a motion to have a special meeting on April 25th at 6 p.m. here to have a public comment on the historic district.
Second,
Thank
any
you.
other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Move forward. Okay. Anybody want to comment on pending projects? Having not seen them, so remind the public, the Astor Bridge, I think we should close that out, by the way, until 2020, when is it now, Rick? 2028?
No.
I don't know.
No, not that long. 5. I mean, we'll have some things to do in terms of looking at thinking about the plaque and some placements and stuff, but
Yeah, but we don't need to
there's
keep
not
on
much going
pending
on.
projects.
Yeah, we don't need
right?
to, we can take it up pending
Okay,
project.
Fran, you're gonna come in with the wastewater plant upgrade, Soho water,
Still waiting on the map and management.
Village Hall Flex design,
Just waiting for the new fiscal year to move forward with the hazmat study.
and the complete streets in the Route 9 corridor.
Nothing at this
We
time.
could probably take that off.
For safe routes to school, we're gonna walk the route with an engineer just to get a better sense of the route.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Should we add Safe Routes to School to this particular list?
I think it's gonna be slower, it's gonna win a little bit.
Okay, grants. Lydia,
I applied to the Thompson Trust in time for their April 1 deadline for a grant for the comprehensive plan for $25,000. In conversations with them, I was greedy. I was greedy on purpose, but they said if they're going to do anything, it's likely to be more in the $10,000 range. But as we all know, anything helps. So I'll keep you updated on that.
anything and everything is good.
Yeah.
All right, purchase requests. Vanessa, the survey easement for Violet Hill.
Yeah, so we've been talking about this easement. We want to have a meets and bounds survey to really define the area on this property for posterity, so there's no confusion. And I tried to get 3 quotes. I only got 2 people to get back to me in time. And the lesser quote is for $3,000. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the quote.
Will this be paid out of the
Crawford.
compost?
Yeah, it
Okay.
can be paid for out of the compost.
Out of the compost project.
Oh, Crawford and Associates.
Well
I second it.
Finding a surveyor. Holy crap.
Discussion,
Yeah, we'll see how quickly they can do it.
I think they said 6 to 8 weeks, right?
Yeah.
It did say something like that.
Wow. Once again, this is useful no matter what, for us to
Right.
have an accurate survey of our land.
I know.
No, it's not of our land.
The neighbor.
It's a neighbor's land.
Oh, oh, for the easement, for the.
It's just a visibility easement off of Violet.
Right. Oh, but still useful considering that we use that driveway
Correct,
currently.
correct.
Yep. Okay.
And so we'll pay for it out of the compost grant, but it is useful to the highway department in general, so you're welcome.
Thank you.
Is that an IOU?
Yeah.
Oh, you run up your own.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. So carried. All right, the next. Having our budget approved, we are again in the need of, always seeming to be needing more vehicles to get into this rotation plan where we can now hopefully get out of purchasing every year a lot of stuff. But our water department is in need of a 2024 Sierra pickup for $52,411.50. Our police, we need to retire a vehicle that has over 200,000 miles on it and is, I forget how many years old, long, 11 years old, something like that. And they want to replace it with a 2023 Silverado pickup for $82,240.50.
A pickup?
It's a pickup. That's what we talked about in our budget meeting. Yeah.
No, I know.
And so that's so they can haul barriers and do all that kind of stuff when there's a need, when we don't have other vehicles available to be able to do that setup for them.
And that happens often enough that
Yeah.
they go out of their own.
Yeah. And plus a regular police vehicle as well.
Yeah, I get that.
And then the purchase of a highway, a wheel loader, which is going to be used to replace a backhoe that we currently have limping along.
Is it even moving?
It is moving, and
Okay,
we are
good.
using it for brush pickup as long as we can keep it running. But we would like to purchase a new wheel loader for $111,056. These were all discussed during the budget discussion by each department in our budget meetings, and for the following vehicles. And Karen, our treasurer, has solicited interest rates for a municipal 5-year lease purchase and will present those results.
As soon as you agreed. Do you want to do a resolution to
I
authorize the
can do that.
purchase?
I'd like to make a resolution to purchase the vehicles as listed for the village of Rhinebeck.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I would like to see at some point an updated vehicle inventory list and sort of with the vehicle replacement plan identified, because I know that just since I've been on the board, I feel like we've replaced every vehicle that we have, other than the police, because the police already have that sort of cycle on board. And it seems like everything was bought in the late 90s, early 2000s, and then wasn't replaced until starting like 3 years ago.
I think that's kind of true, actually.
I mean, that's certainly what it feels like. And so I'd like to make sure that future boards don't have this problem.
No, but we also lost a vehicle to
Yeah.
an accident and fire.
But it was probably a 1998 truck that was gonna have to be replaced anyway.
But they were running, I mean, it was
Yeah,
run- they
I
were
get
running.
that.
Well, the pickup truck wasn't. The pickup truck was fairly new.
Oh, okay.
That was in the accident, but our 2 dump trucks that were destroyed in the fire, one of them was very old, one of them was not.
Okay. All right, so we lost 2 vehicles that weren't part of this, geriatric fleet. But I think
Someone told me, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
they bought the 2 backhoes on the same day.
Oh, no, that's not true.
That's not true.
Someone told me, I don't know if it.
The one we're getting rid of, we bought used, we've got.
Oh, no, but that's the one that's dead is over in the water department.
Oh, that one.
No, that's
Yeah.
a different one. That's not, we're not talking about this one. We're talking about a highway backhoe that we're limping along, not the one that you're
That
gonna
was the highway
surplus.
deck.
What?
That was the highway.
Yeah, we transferred that one to the water department 7, 8 years ago,
Wow.
whatever.
And the brother is not.
And then, I don't know about, I don't
Yeah,
know
the-
if it's related to the other one that's out there or not.
Okay, probably.
But no,
But
the,
yeah,
like,
I
the
have
hydraulic
a
ran is
suggestion.
going, I mean, it's been rebuilt
Wait,
1,000 times.
Yeah.
I just
One
have a-
conversation at a
I have
time.
a
Sorry.
suggestion for Lydia, because Chrissy keeps all the records, and she has a spreadsheet with all the vehicles on and the year and everything, and, yeah, the police, they do have a rotation schedule, but maybe you can work with Chrissy and Kyle and
Yeah,
kind of come up with it.
yeah, I think that would be
But
helpful
I
for us.
agree.
And we need to
From a
start,
budgeting standpoint,
Yeah, and then as these trucks start coming out in electric, it would be great if we could start doing that. So it's kind of a bummer that we're having to replace all of these literally in like the 6 months before all of these full-size trucks are gonna start coming out
I mean,
in electric. but
can we lease electric truck? I think the problem with electric trucks right now
They're
is that
just
they're
not
hard to
available, yeah.
find, but would they be easier to find if we were leasing instead of buying?
No, they're impossible to find no matter what. And also, currently electric trucks, they're being designed for passenger use, not for hauling or sort of heavy-duty use. And so what you see in a lot of like the readily accessible electric trucks, like say like the Ford Lightning, is it's got the full-size crew cab and then the 5-foot bed. And so it's like, in order to actually get what we need for utility purposes, we'd have to special order them with the 6 or the 8-foot bed. And, you know, that's gonna take at least probably 2 or 3 years would be my guess. But GMC just announced that they're gonna bring out the Ram, not GMC, Ram just announced that they're bringing out the Ram with a 500-mile range in 2023 or 2024.
Cool.
So, you know, I think we're getting there, but I don't think we're there yet.
So the town of Red Hook bought an electric truck for their use, but not for a police department use. And one of the issues we've talked about before with the police vehicles is the amount of runtime that they have. So this will be used as a regular police vehicle, not just as a pickup truck. So
Right.
the electric doesn't work yet for police in terms of the service that we need to do, in terms of how we use our vehicles. So the 23 Silverado is still the better replacement. And you know as much as I love electric, so.
Well, what is the nature of our leases? We have this 5-year lease deal.
So Karen, we'll get right into that. I made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second?
Lydia, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Now,
Well, in relation to that, I guess my question is, can we get out of this after 2 years? And
We could sell it.
well, you can sell it
you have to sell
and pay it off, but.
it. Oh, and pay it off, okay. So
Because we do like a sale leaseback basically, right? I mean, it's.
it's a lease purchase.
It's
It's a
lease purchase,
5-year municipal lease purchase,
okay.
and there's, you know, there's a fee schedule, I mean, there's a schedule and, with the interest, I mean, we have the same payment, but it varies on the interest and the principal to keep that payment the same. But, I believe you can, after 2 years, I think, you can purchase it and replace it. But if you're ready, I had obtained 4 interest rates. So for the total of $245,708 for all 3 vehicles, but we'll have a fee schedule and a payment schedule for each one individually. So one of ours, First Government, was 8.5, First Capital Equipment Lease was 6.72, Government Capital was 5.72, and I'm gonna recommend that we go with Real Lease at 5.57%.
That's great.
And the overall goal was here to aggregate these because we get a better, aggregate them because we get a better deal.
Correct.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the lease for, it was, again, who was it with?
Real Lease,
Real lease for
5.57.
5.57.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna take a little deviation here because there were some people here that had some questions about our fire department and the law that we passed. Our chief to the village fire department just happened to walk in. Brian, I'm gonna put you on stage if you don't mind. Do you mind coming up and we can ask you some questions about the village tax exemption for firefighters and EMS volunteers public hearing. There was a lot of comments during the discussion. A lot of it related to, one of it was, is the village fire department behind this tax exemption?
So first, I'm Brian Knapp, Chief of the Fire Department. I'd like to thank the board for passing this resolution. The fire department, we're all volunteer. We do it for different reasons. This is just a benefit for us. Some people will be able to use it, some people won't. Some people will choose to use it. We have the ability to take a income tax break instead of the property tax. So whatever anybody is going to feel that they benefit more from will be what they choose.
So the question was, is the fire department in general, your membership behind supporting this law?
Yes.
Second question, it pertains to property owners only. It does not work for renters, those who rent. Were there any renters who voiced or had concern, or are you aware of anything to help us do something for renters?
At this time, I know of nobody that is a renter that is against this. A renter does have the ability to take the income tax credit on their taxes. So they do have the ability to take the other one. So why they may not, I don't personally live in the village. I think it's a great thing that they did. Personally, it's not going to affect me. Wish it did. Used to live in the village, just moved outside the village limits. But unfortunately, it doesn't affect me. Maybe if the town does something, that'll help me. Yeah, I'm all for it. I don't live in the village. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a great thing to get people hopefully to join, more to keep them here, to retention. So yeah, I think it's a great thing.
Are there any questions those who would like to ask our chief?
How many, this is Michelle Lennon, I live in the village. It seems to me that if you pay property taxes, you have an option. You can't do both, right? This income discount versus
Correct.
this. And if you're a renter, your only option is an income.
Correct.
Yeah. And how many renters do you have?
I couldn't tell you that off the top of my head. We have approximately 50 members. They live between the village, the town, and just outside of the town.
Because it seems if you're trying, if this is in addition to other things, the small token, in my opinion, of appreciation, frankly, I think everyone should just get $1,000 at the end of the year or something. It would be cool. I'm ready to add taxes for that. But to keep the pool of volunteers in, it seems to me that it should be more inclusive for renters as well.
So what I can say is that probably about 10 years ago, the state put in a $200 income tax credit for us. We can take that on our personal taxes, only through the state. They went through the legislation and everything to get a law passed so that we could do Dutchess County, and all the counties could pass pass property tax exemptions for the 10% in certain areas. Then it was up to the counties, the towns, possibly the school districts, the villages, all the different municipalities to move forward and pass their own laws to accept it. If they choose to accept it, that's a benefit for us. Some areas may not be accepting it. I encourage you to contact the county. I know the county is trying to propose that the state also include the $200 tax credit on your income tax as well as the property tax, so we don't have to choose. It would be a benefit for both. I'm going to say I'll speak for myself and probably the majority of the people. When we joined the fire department and the fire company, we're not looking for anything in return. We do this because we want to do it. We want to help people. men and women put their lives on the line for a reason, and it's because of community service, and this is just a bonus. Years ago, there used to be a lot of community service, and it kind of got away from that. So I encourage you to invite your neighbor to come down and join. Feel free to come down yourself, you know. It's a great organization. We help people from small things to big things.
Yeah, I guess it's, you know, I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't know if it's really hitting the point here. The point is, it just seems kind of a two-layered, and I don't think it should be. I think there's a better mousetrap right now after a 12-hour day. I can't really think of it, but I'm happy to brainstorm with others. I think instead of property tax, there could be another way. So it's, there's no doubt anyone who does volunteer or a profession or vocation that doesn't get a lot of overall cultural kudos, but it's here, someone initiated it, now it's become law. So I think it could have used some, it might be water under the bridge now, but I think it could have used some tweaking and more public.
Well, you know, what they passed tonight is nothing more than they were allowed to pass. So that's what it comes down from the governor of the state after she signed it. And when she signed it and it rolled downhill, they went to the fullest extent that they could go to. So I appreciate that.
Elder?
Yeah, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with any of that. What we're saying is that it's not really equitable because people who are renters can't take the same advantages. That's what we're talking about. We're not trying to take away from people who will be getting something, but we just feel it's not equitable. That's what was brought up.
So I encourage you to call your state legislators, your state representatives, and contact them. You know, I'm just here to represent our members and to hopefully try to get things that we can get. And unfortunately, it goes uphill. So I encourage you to start rolling the ball uphill and push it to whoever you can in the higher ups. Go to the county. I know the county has already done their part. Take it to your state, you know, take it to the state representatives. Call them, express your concern with it, and maybe they'll do something.
Without breaching any kind of confidentiality, but can we just get numbers as to how many renters are in your volunteer squad versus those who are paying taxes?
Again, I don't have that information in front of me.
She means,
But Brian,
we can get it.
We can get that.
We can get it.
Let me answer. We can get that information. You can share with me and I can.
I'll share it with the mayor, and then we can, you know, he can do what he needs to do with it.
Do you understand, at least we're three of us are?
I understand that your concern is that we're not all getting treated fairly, which is great. You know, I appreciate that because, you know, as I'm not a renter, I'm a homeowner, and I'm not getting treated fairly either with this tax. But you know what? If I chose to live in the village, I would be. Again, it's nothing more than the law allows. They did what they could, and if they could do more, I'm sure they would. And unfortunately, it's not up to this board to decide what the state is going to allow for tax purposes and for whatever they want to choose. If that makes any sense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you for your service.
Also, I just wanted to, Linda, you asked the question. For someone who has an assessed value of $500,000, the break that they get on village taxes for the coming year is $138.50.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm not, my point was
No, I
that
know,
if people knew that,
we will share this, but I just wanted to answer your question tonight, so you had it answered tonight.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move on. All right, the next on the agenda is Record Management Conference for Clerks. Martina?
So, one second. Niagara, the New York State, the Records Management Association for New York State, is holding their 2023 conference. This year's from June 4th to June 7th in Ithaca. Myself and the Building, Planning and Zoning Records Clerk Miranda would like to attend. The fee for the conference itself plus the membership is $80, and then the additional fee for the hotel and mileage. I'm not sure the mileage, I haven't calculated that, but for each of us, it's $668 for the hotel. This would help definitely her being newer to her position and having to tackle the huge responsibility of the Building, Planning and Zoning Department records, but also as a refresher for me as the Records Management Officer, and it would actually help me obtain RMC credit. So we are requesting to attend.
What date?
June 4th through June 7th in Ithaca.
What was that last name? What was the last thing you said? Ten.
RMC credits?
Oh, RMC. Gotcha.
So they have laserfish.
They do
They
have
have a class on
yes.
laserfish. Should be good for them.
And foils.
There are enough classes on.
Yeah, they've got a few different courses that we'd like to go to, but those were the two that stuck out to me.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the recommended conference for our village clerk and building inspector secretary.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Very good. Martina, I don't see the code conference for Brian.
I have that as well. So our fire inspector slash also code enforcement officer, Brian Connolly, has his annual code conference that is April 19th, April 20th, and April 21st. He would actually be commuting as it's in New Paltz. The seminar conference fee is $300 plus the mileage. As a code enforcement official, he is required to take 24 hours annually. This would provide 19 of those hours.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the code conference for Brian Connolly,
Second.
the fire inspector.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so carried. Moving on, special request. Amelia, I told you it was going to be a long meeting.
I like this. I like coming.
I'm sorry.
I don't mind.
But thank you for coming.
I learned.
All right. So Amelia, you have submitted a special request, and this is for Ozone to dispense bulk refills of personal care and household products, including laundry detergent, shampoo, and hard soap. And you as a business owner, blah, blah, blah. When is the date? Look to pick up from the farmer's market on Sundays from 9 to 3 p.m. Now this is outside of the area of the farmer's market, and they go from 9 to 2, and then they shut down. My only question to you is, have you spoken to anybody at the farmer's market about this?
Not recently, no. So I couldn't be a part of the farmer's market because I don't source my ingredients from.
Okay, how would you like to come up front and be on camera? How's that? You waited this long. This is your 15 minutes of fame.
So I'm Amelia Laguerre from the Ozone. And so no, I haven't spoken to the farmer's market yet because I was just waiting to see if this was even possible. Basically, I have my school bus, which I use throughout the week to do compost pickups, and I want to use it more because I've invested a whole lot of money in it, and so I want to use it for another cause, and so I want to make a mobile bulk refillery and use it on the weekends and bring it to locations nearby to farmers markets. I wasn't sure what the verdict was going to be, if it's even a possibility of doing it. So, but I would definitely get in touch with the farmers market and see if, but I know I couldn't be a part of the farmers market because I don't make my deodorant using locally sourced baking soda and shea butter, unfortunately, but it would still be, it's a way for people to reduce plastic waste. We can do some sort of composting. There's lots of things I feel like it would go really hand in hand with the farmer's market, but it has to be a separate entity.
So you're looking for one parking spot?
Yeah.
That
In the
would-
municipal lot.
In the municipal lot, yes.
Yeah, and I feel like if there's a village space that I could take up during the hours of the farmer's market, or whatever you'd be willing to let me do, that'd be appreciated.
So just for clarity, you went to the farmer's market, they said we can't because of our bylaws.
Well, this was like when I first opened a few years back.
Oh,
I had
okay.
gone because I was like, oh, I should set up a booth and do composting and bulk refills, but because my products aren't New York based, it wasn't really a good fit.
So you're doing sales and intake and sales?
I'm sorry.
You'd be selling stuff and taking stuff in?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I would talk with Vanessa, like the composting could be a great thing as well. But no, but mostly what I'd be doing is doing bulk refills where people could come to the bus. I have a window and take their containers and bulk refill where people can fill up on other everyday items that, so they can get bamboo toothbrushes, and little things that would be.
But it's not compost at this time.
No, and it doesn't have to be. That was just like an idea as well, because it's my bus where I.
So it's basically like a mobile ozone,
It's a mobile ozone, exactly.
barring the olive oil,
What's that?
without the olive oil.
Yeah, just, it would be very
Maybe oil.
basic. Well, I can't do the food. I wouldn't do
Oh,
the
okay.
the food.
No food.
It would just be basic, like 2 different laundry detergents, 2 different hand soap, dish soap, like very, whatever I can fit, and just cover the bases of household needs and personal care product needs, and see how it goes. I'm gonna do. I was hoping Kingston I'm doing on Saturdays, and I was hoping Rhinebeck on Sundays, and if it's a possibility.
My concern is just safety. The municipal lot gets very crowded, very hectic, traffic going every which way on Sunday,
Yeah.
right? And for pedestrians and everything to access your vehicle in and amongst all that, I'm concerned about safety. That's
Yeah.
my
Definitely.
primary concern.
Yeah, maybe if I went in early, like if it was like I went in 8:30 or 9, when it before it really got busy.
No, it's not,
parked in.
it's not parking, it's during the day, it's from the 9 to 3, people walking through your window in an active parking lot.
Oh, I see.
We
I
close
see.
off the
The
farmer's
back.
market,
Right.
so nobody can get in, no vehicles can get in.
I wonder if, the farmer's market could, I don't know, block off like the closest parking space to where they have their operations so that it would keep people
Walking towards that.
like on the farmer's market side of the parking lot.
They have an approved amount of space, that is by contract.
Yeah, that would be the board approving that.
So we would have to amend their contract to expand their spaces that they currently are already allowed to use.
Right.
And they charge their vendors to use their spots.
Yeah.
Yeah, but could we as a board designate a specific space for this?
We can, but my concern is safety.
Right, but what I'm saying is that if we put it close enough to the farmer's market, that like,
There's not as much.
yeah, there's like a
traffic.
few parking spaces that are super close to like where the entrance of the farmer's market is, where it's actually like, it's like right next, so people are basically it's part of the farmer's market, but just on the outer border of the farmer's market.
Well, we've all been there,
Yeah,
right? And as much as I really like, I can't picture a space that they don't use that we could enhance that wouldn't hinder traffic. That's my concern.
oh,
I'm a little concerned about the floodgates, like that other people
food trucks.
food trucks, yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it is. That it retail's retail and they're under our zoning code, under the things that we do, and I just think that it would lead to other people wanting to do the same thing, and that we don't have any kind of curb or guardrail on that. Because it's not part of the farmer's market.
What do we do with food trucks now?
We don't allow them.
We don't allow them
Well, for events we do,
for events?
and we allow them.
As part of an event, we
As
do,
part of an
yes.
event, we
Yeah.
allow.
Right.
But in general, correct, we don't allow.
And the fuller brush salespeople, we don't,
Right, yeah, door to door.
we've said no to that
Yeah.
over and over again, and
Amelia could do like the ice cream truck guy, right?
go around. Yeah.
That's, we made the exception for Mr. Dingling is like, has got the,
No, I just saw the peddler permit and I thought it was an option, so I thought that was something that could be approved. So I applied.
I would love to
that's
see
just
this,
my position, I
I
don't
would
know.
like to send under the aegis of the farmer's market. think
Yeah,
you should
I
talk-
agree.
I think you should talk to the farmer's market again
Yeah, it's-
about the space for this kind of thing. Their mix has changed over the years, and they might be more amenable to including this sort of, I think, as part of the farmer's market, I think this would be really appropriate for them. But for us, I think the point is, love the idea, great idea, loved out of us, but now how many people are gonna be, how many other persons with sort of mobile operations are gonna wanna be setting up in the village? And we already had we have 2 tables just that are our tables for people to use. And we have enough waiting list for that once that started. So I love the idea, but I really would much prefer to see this administered as part of the farmer's market.
Is there an option here for, since we have a sidewalk dining and sale policy, that if she were to set up, if a store owner would say, I will let you set up in front of my store and sell your wares as part of our sidewalk outdoor.
Well, she could do that now with a peddler's permit with the property owner's permission.
Right.
But I was saying, like, would CVS give me permission to park there?
Well,
Yeah.
Let's not.
For what?
Bread alone?
Yeah,
Right, like,
you might want to go
yeah,
somewhere where you
like-
can actually talk to the owner.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah.
But I would suggest that as well as if, along with Rick's suggestion, talk to
Yeah, the farmer's
the farmer's
yeah.
market, but if there was a store owner that would allow you to do that, that would come under our purview today and allow it to be acceptable.
And I would need the peddler's permit still approved, though, to
Correct.
do that, even if I used
Correct.
the
Yes,
spot.
if you
Okay,
plan to sell anything, yes.
got it.
Yeah, well, you'd have to follow the law that we just passed.
No, this would not apply
No,
to
not
sidewalk
sidewalk
dining.
dining, peddler's permit.
The space requirements, everything would.
Well, but there's a law currently on the books that allows
Oh,
for retail
you're right.
operations, but that law I don't think would apply in this case because that is, all of that has to be done on the facade side of the building. So,
And I would probably just want to use my bus.
yeah, exactly, and you would be like, leaning out the window of your bus.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to the library?
No.
Oh, someday.
That's the town, so you'd have to.
Yeah,
right,
that's a different thing.
I know, it would be nice to I get the idea of doing it on a Sunday during farmer's market.
Yeah, and closer to the.
And closer to the village.
But in those spots right outside on the road are totally designated for other use. The ones outside of the parking lot, on the sidewalk, in front of the park.
That's actually a no parking.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah,
it's
that's
a
not
parking
no
parking
parking,
zone.
right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they're fire trucks and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I think the only thing, and Brant knows the zoning code better than I think the only thing would be a peddler's permit in front of a property.
Yeah, you can have like a 6-foot table or so, within 36 inches of the facade.
Yeah, so-
Of the exterior wall.
Right, so it's like the store owner can have a table on the facade side of the sidewalk, but it can't be on the curb side of the sidewalk, so that's what we're running into.
Got it.
And we have enough store owners, honestly, who put like racks of clothing on the curb side of the sidewalk that we need to not encourage it.
But the bus is a no-no.
Well, no, I mean, like, if you have a peddler's permit, I don't see why not, because we do allow it for food trucks.
But as part
No,
of
we
that
don't, we
event-
only allow food
As
trucks
part
at
of
an
the
event.
As part of an
I
event.
mean,
Yeah.
for example, a food truck that's been set up would be in the municipal lot if the whole lot was closed, or the Foster's parking lot.
Right, yeah.
Or we have food trucks that are part of Porch Fest.
Yeah, and like Sinterklaas and all the
And-
rest of it,
but
but
the
they're part
It's
of
the event.
right, but they're part of the event, and the road is closed.
And we don't consider the farmer's market an event on Sundays.
Mm-mm.
No,
And there's no other peddlers that are not food trucks.
correct.
Just Mr. Dingling.
Just the ice cream man with the
It could be a
Well,
Mr. Dingling,
It's
just
a really nice
saying.
bus.
So basically, you have to keep driving around the village and people would flag you down to be able to.
Yeah, that would be a little.
You'd have to have a better music.
Yeah.
What's that?
You have to change the music every couple of years, just change the music, just change.
It'd be like the Grateful Dead or something.
Yeah, I agree with Rick that I think it would be great if you approach the farmer's market, and if they can't help you, then, you know,
Yeah.
come back and maybe we can help you figure something else out, but, I think that would be a good first
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
attempt, yeah.
Because I think, I mean, like, for example, the farmer's market sells their t-shirts.
And those t-shirts
They
definitely
didn't,
are
like,
made in Dutchess County.
manufacture
you know.
the t-shirts.
Right, well, I think it refers to food products is the, and then there's only.
All right, hold on, time out. This is for the farmer's market,
to work
and
out,
their
that's it.
bylaws, this is
That's
not
what
for us.
Yeah.
I don't want to debate that here, it's 8:30.
Yeah.
This is for them to debate,
Yeah.
right? So, Amelia,
Yep.
I'm going to make a motion that we do not accept.
Okay, and then I'll come back with like
Do I have a
other
second?
ideas.
Second, without prejudice,
Right.
so you can always come back.
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Sorry to make you wait so long for such
Oh.
news.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Don't go away mad.
I'm not, I was, well, yes, it was a long shot.
Let's do that.
Vanessa, you want to talk about the roadblock walk to school day?
Oh, yeah, this is Rhinebeck. This is the project that we've been working on with the middle school students. In honor of Earth Day, which is April 22nd, we're going to do a walk to school day the day before, so April 21st. And we're going to do a walking school bus. So basically a group of kids walking through the village and picking up students along the way at quote-unquote bus stops. It's going to be cute. And we have local businesses that are donating some breakfast goodies and stuff, so we're going to do a meetup at the Lions Mini Park before school. So the event application is really for that, that use of the Lions Mini Park Pavilion. Can I make a motion that we approve this?
I second it.
Any questions?
So this group did not present to the village board, but it did present to the comprehensive plan committee, and they're just awesome. They're just awesome.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried. All right, the next one is the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride.
Oh, I like these guys.
I'm not going to go into detail. We do this every year. We approve this event going forward. This is, they submit to us their village, their application. I'm trying, for some reason it's downloading, I don't know why. I'd like to make a motion to accept the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried. Very good. The next one is the special meeting. Oh, all right, so there's no documentation on this, I'll talk to this. It's a special meeting for the organization that is putting the power line down the Hudson River, which is the Champlain Hudson Power Express, known as CHIPPY. TDI is the developer. TDI would like to go to all the municipalities and present their plan and what they're talking about and the work that they've done with the Hudson 7 as regard to running this cable, this DC cable down the middle of the Hudson River, which is away from all of our intakes, and address any concerns. So it would be a public meeting similar to having a special meeting with the public, to have them come, and we would invite anybody and everybody who has any questions in regard to this. I'm going to say it's a volatile issue because we've been dealing with it at the Hudson 7 for over 2 years now. We've made some significant headway. We've basically done the state's work, that because they refused to get involved and they just wanted to rubber stamp it and push this through. We thought it was an issue in terms of impacting the Hudson River, impacting the quality of our drinking water. And so we've worked with them for over 2 years, basically made them spend $500,000 to justify how they would do it. Where they would place the cable, actually do a simulated jet plow experience. I could go on and on and on for 2.5 years worth of work that we did with them. We're now at the point where we can honestly say that while we don't think the Hudson River is a good source of doing this, there's nothing that we can find that would stop them, that would impact our drinking water. Looking at it solely with the blinders of impacting our drinking water, you know, to
And not all the little crustaceans that live at the bottom of the river and all the rest of it.
the animal population.
Well, I don't know, I mean, like, I'm sure there's all sorts of reasons not to do this.
So our issue was
Drinking
when you
water.
dig this trench,
Yeah,
that's 7 foot deep, 2 feet wide, and you stir up all this turbidity,
yeah,
as they're going by our intake, where is that stuff going?
right,
So we've done that analysis,
right.
you know, with the best professionals we could find to be able to do that.
Okay.
And we did a simulated intake south of here at Chelsea Point, actually doing a jet plow experience, having them jet plow in front, 15-minute readings all the time, monitoring, and then a detailed analysis of all the chemical things that floated up and came into the intake as well as the surface. It's a 500-page document that now exists that quantifies all of this information. Bottom line is, we don't like it, but we can't find a reason to say no. And in our case, our intake is protected because there's utility infrastructure near and we're at a no anchor zone, so they can't trench where our intake is, but I'm concerned about everybody's intake.
Right.
So when they get to our intake, they actually lay the cable on top of the surface and cover it with concrete. That's the approved process. Other areas are going to be trenching, right? And they're going to be trenching, the closest they get is 160 feet to anybody's intake, and that's what we modeled and tested for. Other municipalities are going to be able to do what they need to do, but I wanted to invite them to our village and our town who uses this service, uses our water, and have people come and
Ask them questions.
ask questions.
So Gary, is this gonna be just one meeting for the whole Hudson 7?
No,
Or are they gonna
every
visit?
municipality is doing their own meeting.
Nice, okay.
Whether the town of Rhinebeck wants to do it separately or jointly, that determinate, Elizabeth has not waited on that. I'm willing to do it jointly for village and town because we do service part of the town, obviously, with our drinking water.
Why don't we do that? And then come up with a communal date or a communal date.
So you're saying, let me go talk to the town and set a joint date?
Yeah, maybe we can come up with 3 dates and then you
Okay.
can take one.
Yeah, I think this is a great
I'm
idea, and, yeah. we should
And
really-
clearly we need Panda coverage for this.
Oh, absolutely. I want the ones that left as well. Because I think it's important. I really think this is an important issue that everybody should understand and be able to, understand what's going on in our river, right? Because I don't believe this is the last one.
I don't understand why we keep building extension cords. Like, there's gotta be a better way to.
Well, this is a result of pulling renewable energy.
It's renewable.
Yeah.
It's
This is
hydropower.
So
Hydropower
just-
is Quebec.
It's hydropower. Okay, it's not turbines in the Hudson River.
No.
It's
This is a
transporting
cable.
hydropower from Quebec down to New York.
Comes down to Lake Champlain, goes into the Hudson, comes out of the Hudson up near Fort Edwards,
Right.
right, because of,
I
there's
know.
still a high
The
issue
point of
there.
my story is that
Right.
electricity is still transported all over the world using a glorified set of extension cords, and it blows my mind.
And
that
this
is how we
only
continue to do it.
has one destination, and the destination is New York City. It does not serve any of the municipalities going down the river. We get no benefit from this
They asked for
extension cord,
a payment in lieu of taxes.
which was
For all the
denied.
jobs they're creating, like scuba jobs? And
Right.
And just for the record, that was denied by Ulster County and denied by Dutchess County.
Well, that's good. Crikey.
They'll probably come back, but
I'm
They
sure.
will. They said they would.
Oh, my lord.
But I think it's important enough for us to
Yeah.
hear what's been happening. We can have representatives from the Hudson 7 here as well. We can have their representative here to answer any questions and talk about the project. So, all right, I will work with Elizabeth, come up with 3 dates, and we'll come back with a plan.
Okay.
Cool.
Is there really?
Yeah, sounds
All
great.
right, okay. Minutes approval. Martina, do we have them out there?
Yes, you have mine and Karen's from the last budget meeting, sent directly to the board.
Yeah, but I just was looking for them on here.
They're not on the cloud.
They're not on
I
the
don't
cloud.
usually post them on the cloud because it gets confusing. Minutes get posted to eCode.
So Martina, can you address it? What dates was it for?
The last budget meeting, which,
3/15/23.
3/15, I remember that one.
Yeah.
and the last
The
board meeting,
4/4
which
meeting.
was 3/16.
So throw 3/16. And not the 4/4 meeting yet? You'll release me, okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for 3/15 and, what was the last date?
3/16.
3/16, our board meeting. Do I have a second? Discussion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Lydia?
I'm recusing from the 15th, I wasn't here, I don't think.
You were not here on the 15th.
Do we have a vote?
I don't think I saw the 314, so.
I didn't see the ones from 3/16.
Those were sent today. Karen
Yeah.
sent hers last week.
I did not have an opportunity to review 3/16 before today's meeting.
Same.
I also didn't receive them.
All right, so let's hold on to 3/16. So everybody has enough time
Where's
to
it?
review.
Am I missing one?
Well, if you had time to read them, it's not,
Yeah,
you're not
either
gonna
way,
read them now.
either way, doesn't matter.
All right, so we're gonna approve only the 3/15 with Brand
With my recusal, or
not being present.
abstention.
Yeah.
It's late.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, Rick, Tree Commission.
Okay, I'm very happy to report some lovely growth at the Tree Commission. Currently, the Tree Commission has 6 members. We can have up to 9, and we received a spate of applications. The Tree Commission reviewed the applications and voted unanimously to accept the following 3 new members. Michael Florenza, excuse me, sorry, Michael. Kurt Quackenbush and Chris Hall. And they decided there may be some more openings in the future. The trustees, the Tree Commission will be considering additional applicants. So basically, the Tree Commission received letters from these applicants, had a chance to talk with them. They felt like they were very qualified, and we're really excited about bringing these new 3 people on board. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept Michael, Kurt, and Chris onto the Tree Commission.
Second. Discussion?
Welcome.
I know them
Yeah,
all.
it's
I
awesome.
think they'll be
Well,
great.
Yeah,
yeah,
they're
no,
great.
it's, and yeah,
It's a great group.
it's a great group, and I think that the Tree Commission has done such a good job and been so visible, and it's been attracting people to its mission, and that's really very exciting.
All in favor, say aye.
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 One other, there was a removal request from 3 Knollwood Road. The approval was, the recommendation is to approve it. However, because there was seemed to be somewhat of a dangerous situation, the removal has been done, but the Tree Commission would like to retroactively approve it because they'd already spoken about it. Trees in poor condition.
It was dead.
It was dead.
What address?
3 Knollwood. So I'd like to make a motion that the board accepts the recommendation to approve the removal request for 3 Knollwood.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Too late if you say no.
I'm not saying no.
There's
And,
The
yeah,
tree's gone.
too late.
Yeah.
But
The
there
tree's
was,
gone.
I should say that there was consultation between the homeowner and the Tree Commission before all this happened, and there were concerns about safety.
Yep.
So that was it.
That was a big old tree.
It was a big old tree.
Vanessa, climate smart test.
So I've already mentioned a lot of my items here, but I also wanted to note that the amphibian migration has been going great. Should be over probably pretty soon.
I do love the frog on the sign.
Yeah, came out great.
Yeah.
And as everybody knows, we collaborate with Marist College. Their environmental science and policy students have been working this semester. Gary and I are going to go down to Marist for their final presentations coming up soon. But I also just wanted to thank them. One of the things they did this semester is they created a informational flyer that we shared out to all residents of the village about nature-based solutions to managing flood water. So how to use certain types of species of plants to soak up excess water. So whether you live along the Landsman Kill or you just have a moist part of your lawn, they gave really specific recommendations. So I wanted to thank them for that public service that they did for us.
Is that information on your website?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, there's a page on the climatesmart.rhinebeck.org website for the Marist collaboration, so you can see all the history of that partnership. Also, I just wanted to say thanks again for sending our compost committee member, Catherine Kaleffer, to the New York State Organic Summit. She had an amazing time and soaked up so much information. Meeting with her, and we're talking about how she can put together a presentation with what she learned. So thank you.
Good.
Yeah, one other fun thing we're doing, the Taste of Rhinebeck is back. And we're going to be tabling at Terrapin to talk about all of the restaurants that are participating in our composting pilot.
That's great.
Yeah.
What's the date of the taste again?
April 26th,
That's right.
5 to 8 p.m. You can pick up your tickets at Foster's parking lot, where there'll be some other tables and some entertainment going on, and then go out and take advantage of 25.
You have to pre-purchase your tickets. There's no tickets on sale on site.
They're sold out now.
Are they?
Yeah, they're sold. You told me they were sold out.
No,
Oh.
no,
I'm sorry.
no. Tickets aren't sold out. The vendors are sold out.
So vendors are sold out. Oh, gotcha. They're limited to 75, I think is the number of tickets that they're selling.
75?
Yeah. Yeah.
That can't possibly be true.
No, I think that's it. Yeah.
What?
So, like,
They're expecting 400 people.
they're expecting, yeah.
No, all right, 75, you're right. It's $75 a ticket for 450
Right.
people. Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome.
I'm sorry, it's 8:45.
It's late, yeah.
Almost 3 hours.
But 50% of the proceeds for the Taste of Rhinebeck go to support our autism supportive committee. And leading into that, if you're done, our autism supportive committee would like to, I'd like to appoint Caitlin Devanovich to our autism supportive committee. Caitlin has a master's in education as the assistant director for the adult day services for Anderson Center for Autism. We wholly support Caitlin joining our committee and working with her on all the things that this committee is involved in. So I'd like to make a motion to add Caitlin as a member to the committee.
Please. Second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So carried.
Let me say anything about the comp plan?
Yes. I jumped ahead of you because we were.
No, actually, it was perfect timing. So as always, the comp plan, the most recent minutes are up on the website. They're generally meeting the second Thursday of every month, but in the last few, they've accelerated the schedule. The main committee is going strong, going through the recommendations from the subcommittees, and they're working hard at it.
And when's your next meeting?
Their next meeting is on Thursday, 6 to 9 p.m. here. Be there, be square. And this week is also, they're offering a hybrid option, so they'll be able to, you can attend by Teams if you would like to do so.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're down to personnel. I would like to, as always, recognize the people who work so diligently and work so hard to support all of us here in the village of Rhinebeck. The first is our court clerk, Tricia Yakalone, who has now been with us for 16 years. Our chief wastewater plant operator, Brian McComo, for 7 years. Our wastewater maintenance mechanic, Scott Ratched, 7 years. And drum roll please for our village clerk, Martina McClinton, 3 years. Having said that, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 8:49.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's a wrap, folks.